Hello everyone and welcome to another Sunday stream. As you can see, we've got another guest on today. We've got Bas. You can see his channel linked in the description below if you're interested. I'm sure we will talk all about YouTube, all about Notion. And essentially today, for those of you that are just joining, hi Ruby, good to see you. For those of you that are just joining, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Notion, how to use Notion, how Bas uses Notion, how you could use Notion, and answer any questions that you have about not necessarily just Notion or digital tools, apps, anything to help with your workflow. If you're watching on the replay, I will get the timestamps done after the stream, so that may take a couple of hours because obviously I've got to re-watch the stream. But if you're watching on the replay, just have a look in the timestamps in the description to skip to any part that you want to go to. If you're watching live, obviously you're with us here. So if you have any questions, there is a form in the description below. If you have any long questions you want to answer, and if the chat does get quite fast, then I will go straight to the form because otherwise I lose the questions. So, Bas, do you want to introduce yourself and say who you are?
Yeah, well, let's start. I'm Bas. I run a YouTube channel called Tools on Tech, where the last couple of videos, I think 6 or 8 or something, I've been really focusing on Notion, mostly because I've been using Notion so much myself to really wrangle my life together, because I had so many things that I had to keep in my head, and I tried doing that with things like todoist, but keeping notes somewhere, I tried them all, like Evernote, paper, workflowy, and they all missed something. And then at some point I stumbled over Notion, and I think within a week I decided like everything's going here. So I put everything in Notion, and then I made a lot of mistakes because you try using it and figuring out ways to work, and that grew over time. And I contacted you, I think 2 weeks ago, because I was basically going through the system that I was building, and it was like a bit more complex like Para, because I managed many different fields. And I was distilling that down to its essence, and I thought that would make an interesting thing to do a show and tell about and get some feedback from people.
Yeah, definitely sound good. Hi Roxanne, good to see you. Did you speak to Roxanne in the chat last week?
Yeah,
I thought so. Roxanne's been on before, and she loves talking Notion. She loves talking Notion, as I'm sure we all do. So do you want to, Torin? Good to see you. It's not as warm now, Torin, so you can. We were talking about that before stream, actually, like how hot it's been.
Yeah, definitely. Like I had an interesting conversation with Torin last week when I was in the chat.
Right. So do you want to? Should we go straight in? Is your screen ready to be shared?
I can share it straight away. It's like
it's down there. It's just
it's already shared. Like it was prepared. Yeah, share it. It's like it's on my Daystart,
but I'll share it when it's got something else up.
Well, like maybe like as a light starter, I'll just show this as a quick tip. It's like my Daystart page. This is like a Notion page I built that I just run every day. So every day I start with just selecting everything here, unchecking it, and then just going through these steps to get started. It's one of those small things that I do to get going in the morning. I'm not sure about the rest, but I need like coffee and a checklist. It's how I get going.
Morning routine, coffee and checklist.
Yeah. So I built this system, and it's like the part of this system is inside my personal Notion, but it's really intertwined between multiple assets because it's grown from when I got started. And this set is just a template that I'm sharing, where I distilled it down. I just removed everything that was company specific or personally specific. And I was just trying to figure out like, okay, what's the essence of this? And then after I did that, I started using this as a template for some of the work that I started doing after it, like as a volunteer organization, and I use them as a base. And it's based, I call it technical superhero system, and it's mostly because I wanted a metaphor or something to symbolize the fact that I zoom in into where I want to be. Like many productivity guys, they talk about like high level, low level. So in my case, the highest level that I've built is this system itself, and I call that a life territory. And what it means is that this is the system that I pick, and I make copies for each environment. So some people try to put everything into one system, and I just can't, because I run a freelancer business. I work for a new company every 2 years, And I want those things to be totally separate, because once I leave those companies and I go to another company, first of all, they don't really enjoy it if you're mixing their data with other companies. And I also don't enjoy it because it becomes very complex. So I can just start fresh when I get at a new company. And I also make these territories for like different environments. So if you look at my Daystart page, this has like a global block on the top. And these are my live territories. So this is the volunteer organization. This is my work, like the financial, the taxes that I need to do. The current job I'm at, my YouTube channel, personal. Those are the 5. I try to minimize them, but those are the big blocks that I work from.
So very quickly, I assume that's similar to like my tab bar where quick links goes to wherever. Do you have that? You mentioned it's a global block. Do you have that inside of like those pages so you can bounce between them?
Yeah, so I can bounce between them, or at least quickly get to a few things. So like I got the logbook here, for example, which I use to track small work that I do over the day. And it was also an optimization. So originally when I was building this, I had like a table for meeting notes, and I had a table for logbook entries, and the logbook entries were small things like a coffee chat with that, or I get a call or a Slack, or get why. But because Notion has like a full page of documentation that you can put under every entry, I started noticing that my meeting notes, I didn't really get like I just made a logbook entry and put text in there. So at some point, like, why am I keeping a separate table of meeting notes? At some point, logbook became like logbook and meeting notes in one, and that saved me a table. And you see that like the system
with the superhero like theme. I assume you've seen Comrade's gamification.
Yeah.
Did you get any inspiration from that, or was it just your?
No, well, like I did look at the gamification aspect. This is mostly to make it tangible. So by having a story wrapped around it, saying that Tony Stark, or Iron Man in this case, needs to fly down to a region to do his thing as a superhero, is something that just clicks in the mind. It sticks easier. Another of the core aspects, there was like 3. One is to fly to an area and deal with. So that's what he does. He flies somewhere, and he's not dealing with what he has back in the States at that point in time because it's too far away. But also, he is a technical person. So if he's not somewhere, he can still do stuff there by automating it. And this is also like one of the core goals that I have when I'm using this system is like, can I automate something? And that's why, for example, in my areas of responsibility, in projects that are always part of an area of responsibility, I have 2 sets. One is projects that are like start to finish, things that I can end, and there's projects that keep coming back. And then when there's projects that keep coming back, because I'm responsible and need to do the same thing over and over and over again, they become prime suspects to spend extra time to automate. So that's how I get through Workday now. I look at the things that keep coming back, the work that I need to do, and then the thing goes like, okay, how can I minimize the work here or automate it so far that this thing will keep running even if I'm not there?
So sort of like repeated projects. Is that what you're talking about? Like YouTube would be like a video would be a repeated project?
Yeah. Videos is a repeated project, but videos I can actually finish. Each individual video is something I can finish. But there I optimize like each project because I make a template. So there the steps for the video get optimized over time. But each video is a project in its own, and I finish that. It's videos are a bit. You could see it as one, but like, where do I store the individual video information and the research and the notes? So there they become like separate projects. But if it's the exact same thing that I'm doing.
So you see each part of a video a project on its own? Yeah.
And like in my video thing, they're all individual projects, but they have templates and the same building blocks that they refer to. If I'm talking about things that I need to repeat, then for example, at my work, we do security patches, and security patches need to happen every month, actually every week. So that becomes like the same steps that I have to do all the time. And I keep that on one page because I need the same notes every time. I need the same work every time. And if I make that one 5 minutes faster, that's 5 minutes times every week over a year. That's just pure profit in that regards. Another one that I had that was a recurring project was I had like a weekly meeting at the current job I'm sitting at. And that one was total chaos. So first thing I did was bring in Notion, which is usually the first fix that I bring. And that's like, I made one page. Actually, initially I made like a meeting template And then I started noticing that I was using the same template every week, and I was copying over data to that template every week. And then it dawned on me like, hey, if we're doing the same song and dance every week, maybe I can just make one page that points to everything. And that worked fine. And then that grew into like one document that everybody edits. So we used to make meeting notes, and then somebody would type them over and put them somewhere. And it took a lot of time. And we now upgraded to like one Google Doc that just keeps a page getting added. And the system has like steps that people go through. And I had to painfully copy them out of Notion and into the Google Doc, because not everybody's using Notion at where I work. But it was so pinned down by the time I copied it for them that I'm on holiday right now, and I'm pretty sure the meeting went exactly the same as it did all the times before that, because all the steps are basically written down. And this is one of the things that I like about Notion, is that I get a structure, and I keep building on the structure until the work becomes trivial.
Yeah, it's awesome. So it's funny, Roxanne, I'll bring this up. So Roxanne's put this really cool. I find the small visual elements. Was that the one I was looking at, or was it the other one?
It's there you go. Probably, yeah.
It was the tab art I was looking at. There you go. She says it's tempting, but still haven't decided to give it a go. What tempted you to give it a go? Because obviously it's in your space now, I assume.
Yeah, for me, the main temptation was one, seeing a video from you where you had like a top bar, and I was thinking like, yeah, I want something like that. And then also noticing that when I was splitting up into live territories, there were some spots I just quickly wanted to go to. And with the global block setup, where I can just make one bar and copy them on different places, but change them and then they all get updated, that was the moment I said, like, I need to use this, because even if I want to modify or change it afterwards, it's trivial to do, and it means that I don't have to think. Like when I'm on the main page, I can just always click and move somewhere without going through like this huge tree. Because just look at this massive
mess
setup. I can work from there. I'm currently helping someone, I think, on the Facebook group that was talking about trying to get his tree in order. That's something I tried when I started with Notion, and it's something that I painstakingly had to let go of, because working with dashboards and saving that side tree is just a much quicker way to work with Notion, at least for my headspace. Maybe there's some people that can work totally from the tree. It's how I used to work, but it changed over time in Notion. And this just gives me like that fixed place that I can hold on to and just always go back to where I was from. And that's also what it does. It's like, this is the homepage that I have. I spend as little time as possible on this page. This one just links to like the spaces that I have, and then it quickly gets me somewhere. So like my videos, get to the videos, let go, and then keep working on the videos. So yeah, it saved me so much time. This thing, I should have done that much sooner. And considering the amount of time and investment that you have in that one, yeah, spend the 10-15 minutes. I mean, just to make like 2 links.
Yeah, exactly. I think so in my space, my sidebar, I can't actually see any of the pages underneath it because of the way I've set it out. My pages are in a database. So I've got one page and then the database, and that's it on my sidebar. So I wouldn't even be able to use the sidebar if I wanted to. So I was like, unintentional, but if I wanted to use the sidebar, I couldn't. So Jonah, good to see you. I'm pretty sure I've spoken to Jonah over Twitter, actually. I'll just bring it up on screen. So Stockholm, Sweden. Nice. Way of editing, yeah. Best way of editing. Yes, yeah, I'm sure you can go further into that. Can you see that?
The Todoist one. So I actually made like a hack around it, because there's a bug in Notion. If you embed Todoist and you take like a project or a subset, it will always go back to the today view. That is like it just doesn't allow you to get back to the home. So the thing that I have here, where it's embedded, this would work. But if you try and embed something that links to like a project or something like that, Notion removes the hashtag from the URL, and then it gets to like a wrong spot. So I wrote a small PHP script that takes that URL, replaces the hashtag with something else, and gets in between Notion and Todoist. So there's like a redirect. It's open source. I'll send you the link or to the video and the template, because anybody can use that. And that allows me.
if you send it to me after, I'll put it in the description. So for those of you watching now, it'll be in the description afterwards. Those on the replay will see it in the description anyway. But yeah.
And one of the ways that I use that, because one of the reasons that I really, really need it is when I have a project and I'm managing a project for the companies that I work for, then the details, the tasks are in Todoist. And then it becomes like a real pain most of the time because I have to switch between the project and Todoist. But because it's now in the subpage of the project, I can immediately update it. So let me see if I can bring up an example of that. Let's see. Oh, wait, I still sometimes have to get used to the fact that I have that top bar going. So say example, I'm not sure if I already have that one. I'm pretty sure this one has though. So it's like, yeah, this one. So this one immediately goes to, I'm planning to live together with my girlfriend, but we still have to there's lots to get sorted then. And this directly goes to the project in Todoist. So I'm not copying stuff left and right between Notion and Todoist. I can just quickly add tasks here, manage it. And then once I get started with it, I just open Todoist and I just crank widgets. It's a term from Dave Allen, Getting Things Done, where in the morning I'm in a planning brain, and I try to make the tasks in such a way that the rest of the day, I don't really need my brain. It just exactly says what I need to do, and I can just crank through it. I tried doing it by adding tasks in Notion for a while, and that took a real hit on my productivity because I was just, my overview of my workflow was getting lost. And then at some point I rekindled my love with Todoist. And yeah, I'm not going back. It's like this is like those two things, they work so well together for me.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, I think Jonah, I don't know whether you saw this in chat. Can you see that? It's up on screen. The script is saved.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah,
they appreciate the script. So when it comes to managing tasks in like Todoist or Notion, what's your drive towards Todoist? Obviously, everyone's got their own preference. I do as much as I can in Notion. Why Todoist?
Well, I've been using Todoist for over a decade, so I'm probably biased in like a set on that. And like I like the way that I can filter. So like I use labels in Todoist, for example, to say like I can do this in the train, or I can do this on the phone, or that's one of the reasons to do it. I also really like my repeated tasks. For example, in my Daystart, I have something for like a weekly review, but I just create a task that says every week happen. And sure, like I've seen the discussions, right? Like you can do this in Notion, and you can just click and schedule it. But there's just something that works for my brain where I can just click on the task and I know it will come up eventually, and I don't have to think about it. I might need to revisit it once Notion gets around to having like repeated tasks, but we're not there yet.
Once that happens,
I'll definitely have a dive in it, because I'm sure people will do some wonderful things once they have that capability. I mean, currently we're already hacking our way around it using the change time frame set.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny actually. I can't remember where I said this if I said this last week. But in my system, recurring tasks is something that I've been playing with a fair amount. Obviously, loads of different formula solutions, and the daily recurring tasks are actually becoming a friction point with the way that I was using my formula. I've explained it in a video that's coming out later, either this week or next week. Goes over my dashboard, but I mean, it sounds very petty, but 3 clicks was starting to get irritating. So click on the task, click done, and then click off. And I was like, this is becoming irritating. So I've added essentially just a table at the bottom that I just tick all the tasks when I'm done. They're like daily reminders for the daily tasks. And then all the other recurrent tasks I still have on Notion and using the formula, because there's only 1 or 2 of them a day. So it's not that much of an issue. But the daily recurring tasks, I was like, I was making these 3 clicks for like 7-8 tasks a day. That's 21 clicks. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, let me do a quick humble brag here. Let's click. I got 20,434 completed tasks, and if I had to click 2 or 3 times more over the time that I've used to do it, it becomes painful.
Yeah.
That's like a decade of using this as your main productivity tool. And small clicks add up. That's the trick, of course, with a lot of these things. It's one of the main arguments I have with a lot of people when I talk about automating things, because they go like, yeah, but it's only like 5 minutes, or it's only 1 minute, or it's only 10 minutes, or it's just a click or 3 or stuff. Like, why would I write that down? Because those things add up, and that's the trick. It's you nickel and dime them to death, I think is the saying in English. And convincing people to just take the time to just save a few clicks. And as you said, like, you think about the clicks that day. Like, the reasons I have these things here and I just unclick them every day is because they're a small checklist, and they shouldn't count towards those 20,000 because they're not really things that I get done. It's just my day start. I mean, coffee is not really a task.
It's a reminder.
It's a reminder. It's just something to get started. And I'm talking about this I'm making a video currently about this Daystart bit, but I'm talking the same thing about that, where I'm saying, like, I need to click something. It's wired in my brain. If I tried using bullet points here, and that doesn't work. It doesn't match. I don't do them. I skip things. I forget things. Having checkboxes, just, it's hardwired by now. I'll never be able to change that. I'll be talking when I'm 60 about that. So
those of you listening, put a yes in chat if you feel really satisfied when you just like push that tick box and it just goes across. Put a yes in chat just to make sure that I'm not going mad, because it's so satisfying. Just I don't know what it is. You just push the click and then the line. Oh,
yeah.
So yeah. That might be just like productivity nerds. Yeah, there we go. Yes.
That's I think it's a given for us productivity nerds. We need something to click. I love that comment last week. If you love dragging things around, then Notion is your tool of choice. I think that's the other one that really satisfies. It's one of the things, like, I've been messing with Coda the last couple of weeks for my volunteer organization, because they need a lot of data, and I just couldn't get that fitted into Notion. Also, price-wise, it was tricky. And you can't make columns in Coda, and that just drives me nuts. It's just,
I think I said it last week, and I've been playing with Coda. I've been using Coda for a few months, and I've been engaged with loads of it because I try and keep up with everything that I can. And the columns in Coda, like, it's such a small thing, but it's such a big thing. It's so irritating. There are so many great things about Coda, but columns, just please.
Yeah, same here. Like, the day that they implement that, I'll cheer, because I am helping other people, and columns would just really make my life better in Coda. And I also think it's part bias, because I'm used to Notion, and yeah, as mentioned before, like, I like adding pictures and stuff to it because I'm a visual thinker, and I like this motivation that it gives me. And without columns, yeah, they would just break up the page, and now they're just on the side, and they're casually there, and they just make me feel better. That's all they do. They make me feel. I don't even need to read the quote, because I know the quote at the top of my head. But I just start my day. Bruce is there looking at me, going like, "Get your day started," and then I go through the start. And that's like something that I keep using over and over again on different parts. Like, for example, on the YouTube one, I have this saying here. So, like, I'm always thinking, like, what am I giving to somebody else? Which I think is the most important thing. If you're like doing YouTube videos, you're making things for people. So what do you give them? And that quick reminder in the corner, every time I go to my YouTube page to look up something, it's in the corner. I'm thinking, yeah, that I found that was the most important sentence to look at every day. And it just makes me feel better. And that's one of the things I love about Notion. I get these colorful pages with buttons on it, and it's in columns, and it just clicks in my brain. And
yep.
I'm so glad that they fixed columns on tables, on the tablets at some point, because that was a pain to work with until that time.
That's something that because I don't use a tablet. It's something I haven't experienced, and I've had a couple of requests to do videos on like Notion on tablets, because it functions differently. Buttons are in different places, and you can't click and drag and the rest of it. And like, my sister's got an iPad, and I've tried, and I'm like, this is so different. This is like, it's Notion, but it's not Notion.
No,
I might have to invest just to explore how different it is. Yeah, I'm looking at the chat, like, loads of yeses for the tick.
And the one thing that I really hope that they get around to at some point is drawing on tablets. That would really make my life better. I mean, I found some hack that you like incorporate like an embedded drawing function, but then you have to make like a widget and insert it in Notion. And I just would like to be able to open my tablet and say like I need to draw here and put something in there.
You can embed. I can't remember what it is. It's like a whiteboard thing on Google. And it kind of works the same thing, but you still have to like save whatever it is as a drawing as like an external app file, and it doesn't work ideally. But
so until that time, I just draw on I think I use Inkscape or something. No, it's not Inkscape. Squid is on Android. It's like the default drawing thing that you need, and I just share that to Notion as an image, and that works. Usually, I don't have to go back and change them, but that would be ideal.
Roxanne's just said, I can never go back, no at all, without columns. And like, I totally agree. Columns and toggles, like the small things in Notion, you just can't live without. Like, I can't remember what it was. Someone was asking me about a word processor. I think it was to do with essays, like writing essays, because I'm writing my dissertation in Notion at the moment. And writing on Word, I was just scrolling for so long. I was like, no, I just can't do this, because I thought about writing my dissertation on Word because I'm going to have to transfer it over there anyway. And I was like, no, there's too much scrolling already. I'm only like a tenth of the way through my lit review. No, I need my toggles back. I need my columns back.
Yeah, that's like one of those things. Like you get used to a tool. I think like last week I was helping my son with a Minecraft texture pack, and I helped him with that like 6 months ago, and I was helping him now again to find the same things. So I'm like, you need like a place to store this information, like where you found it, what you did, and you need to write it down. I know one of those tools, but you're not using that, so I had to like put it in a notepad text file next to it. And I was just like painfully writing it down. So like, it's like you're not at the point in your life yet that you're see the benefits of something like Notion, but I hope you'll reach the day at some point, or maybe never, because it's not his way his brain works, which is fine. Then I'll just put it in my own Notion.
Something similar. If it is like a Todoist, a Trello, Asana, Coda, input any app, just something, because I feel like paper's got its place. Don't get me wrong. Like I have a pad and pen next to me for quick notes for things. It's got its place, but digital storage, it just saves so much time, organization. Even if you're going to go like Roman Obsidian and have all the lines going all over the place, like if it works for you, do it. What are your thoughts on Rome while I brought it up very quick?
I spent some time messing around with it, and I like the whole idea, but as I said, it's for creative people or people that try to make like links. And for me, it's like, there's some benefit there, but I don't do enough of those gathering information and linking them up that I'm not already doing in Notion up to the level that I need. So the linking that I do in Notion, like for example, any log or like workbook log entry, I link that to a contact, and the contact is linked to a project, and those links are like enough for my brain. So with Rome, I'm just going like, it's a nice feature, but it's not. It's something I would see added to something, and with I don't know, like I don't really. It doesn't jive with me. I love the web that they draw, but then at some point I'm thinking, once Notion has an API, then somebody will drag out that information and draw the same web for me.
True.
That's what's going to happen.
Would you want the bi-directional linking stuff in Notion?
Well, like we already have like bi-directional linking between the tables, so I think like 90% of the use cases I already get. So it's not something I would want. There's like so many other things on my wish list, like what we talked about before. Hiding properties is way up there. As we're starting making bigger tables, it's like I have to scroll when I open a project. What's this?
So true. I've been working with a couple of clients, and they like because it's just consistent across the board, like data entry, they're using it like a table. I've said to them like Excel works better for this, but they're adamant they want to use Notion. Like fine, and they've got like 40-50 properties, and I'm scrolling sideways, and they said, can you add this formula? Okay, I'm scrolling it's such a pain. Yes, we need that. It like the Notion Pro community can't do anything more about it. We've all voted up, like everyone in like all the Notion communities everywhere, like Reddit, Discord, Facebook, everyone has said we want to toggle properties. It's just Please.
Like it's just that one point in Notion where I can't use columns. It's like, I think that the thing that would follow straight after being able to hide them would be to be able to show them in the page by having them like on different spots, like, you know, in Coda, where you could just type the equal character anywhere and just put a variable there. I mean,
inline formulas, I think.
Yeah, an inline formula, that would be awesome, because then I could really build like a template which would show all the information that I need front and center, roll it up, and just get it in my face, really feed me the information. But I also look at that and go like, yeah, that's the geeky part of me. I think a lot of people would have a hard time figuring out how to use that. It's
well, yeah, I mean, looking at the majority of Notion users that I've seen, most of them don't use relations and rollups that much, and those that do use both of those, they don't use formulas that much. And you're like, well, I think we're in a small percentage those that use formulas, and those that do use formulas, I think I may be wrong. Like, let me know in chat. But most people look at a formula, copy the formula, paste it into their space, and leave it. Like, they don't touch it. They let other people work out the formula for them, and then that's it. Put yes in chat if that's how you like use formulas. You just like copy a formula and just put it in, and then don't touch it. But yeah, do you want to carry on your tour while we're waiting for those responses?
Yeah, let's dive like a bit. I'll talk about like I'm gonna make sure that this template is shared, that the URL comes, so that anybody can have a look at it. Because I've actually did a written down set on like the core concepts of it, so that there's actual documentation. I'm one of those weird nerds that actually documents stuff, though I have to admit that Notion makes it more fun to do. And then like to document stuff, that's a good thing. Yeah, I think that definitely in many companies, and tech companies in particular, documentation is valued for what it does. The problem, I think, is that good documentation requires time and patience and cutting stuff out. And most people see it as an afterthought. Like, yeah, I'll ram it out in a day. Well, actually what you do is you ram it out in a day and then spend 3 days cutting away all the fluff, so that the person after you actually has something useful. Yeah, there's the amount of companies where I get in and I get pointed to documentation and I get like this huge document. And it's like, yeah, it would have been quicker for me to just read the code than this. Yeah, I hope that at some point people will see it for what it is. Make documentation smaller, for the love of God. Please think of the people that are after you.
Yeah, I've just seen Toran's comment in chat. Gonna have to start documenting a lot of stuff. Notion will be really good for that. I think so, but it's not necessarily the here we go. It's not necessarily like the documenting. It's how you document. Like from my experience, obviously, Toran, you may have your own experience, or you probably have your own experience. But like from my experience, when I started documenting and note taking, I would take so much stuff. I'd look back the next day. I'm like, why did I write that down? What's the point? And I just end up like reading through all this rubbish. And I feel like deliberate or intentional note taking is a skill that you need to like develop and learn. Would you agree?
I would agree. And if there's like one golden tip that I give anyone who's writing documentation, is before you start writing documentation, always think, who is going to read this? Because that's what a lot of people forget. They try to write documentation that would work for everyone, while the only people that are reading it are like the same technical people. So you can skip over like half the steps. If you're writing documentation and you're the only one that's going to read it, that also means that you can skip a lot of steps. So you know what to let out, because depending on the person that's reading it, you either need to be very, very specific or exactly not, because the person knows everything. And I also think that people sometimes forget like who's going to read this. It's like, and I had like another golden rule that I always applied. It was like, I write documentation because either A, it's something that I'll forget because I only need to do it once a year, or B, it's something I want somebody else to start doing and I stop doing it. It's like, those are my two golden rules, and both count for the same thing, like who's going to read it. These days, I need to add a third one to it, because I'm working on reading books on automation. I lost that name for it, but it's like making systems So the third way is like if I do a process and I want to automate it or optimize it over time, which is what Notion does for me. It's like I write stuff down and get it optimized over time.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments in chat. We got one from Rudy saying I tend to copy. Yeah, so like where was it? Was it Rudy? I do tend to check things through. This is formulas related. Was it one from Roxanne? I think it was. There you go, customized formulas. Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know whether it's just like the audience that I kind of have unintentionally adopted, but like being able to dissect the formula, use the formula, and change it is so useful. But what I tend to see, like this is just me looking into like all the people that use formulas, when you sort of say what happens if this changes or something, and they just don't know. But like it's good that you're dissecting the formulas, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like one of the things that I try to do when I give people a formula, and I put like I try to put them in like an example Notion page. I put 2 copies under it, one with like lots of comments in it, like why I'm doing things so that they can learn if they're the type of person that wants to learn from it. And then another one under it, which is just copy and paste. Like I just need this. I want to be able to quickly copy it. And I think both have their uses, because there's the first time somebody reads it, even if they're interested, they'll read the comment section and then copy the bottom one. And the next time they know what to find, and they can just straight copy it. So both have their inherent uses. Yeah.
So I'm curious. Obviously, you've said you've worked like freelancing business, and I assume other people access your pages, correct?
Yeah.
So would you say, like Coda call them doc makers? Would you class yourself as like a Notion doc maker, page maker? For the people you work with?
Well, no, not so much people I work with, because the people I work with, large companies and the like, they have their own tool sets, or they have like requirements where they can only use stuff that's internal. Things like Notion being a cloud company is always a problem, because some data you can't put in, other data you have to be very careful about it, or limit it, or make it anonymous. So I can't share Notion as often as I would like. But I do see that on a different level, when it's starting to get outside work, it becomes like more used, and then I become a doc maker, because this document that I made for the technical super system that I put on the side here, that's definitely a doc maker, because I know how the system works. I didn't need to add like a whole page on how the system works to it. That's because I want other people to be able to use it and have something they can read and see like, okay, this was the grand idea. And then I hope that they butcher it, because it's Notion. I want people to tweak the system. It's that's why I spent the time carving out everything from this that I was personally using, like things that were specific for my sets. Because now when I get to like a new company, I just make a copy of this and I start adding the properties that I need, which isn't that much work. I mean, it's usually like a special link to Slack or Jira, and that's 2 seconds one time. But they would clutter up the example.
Yeah, it's like building. It's kind of like building, because Notion, you can't build like a fully fleshed out system. You sort of build the skeleton and let whoever's using it sort of add the colors, change the layout, the views, and the columns, and the rest of it.
Yeah, it's like I made like a small project management template, for example, and I've noticed that people that have been using that mostly did so because I kept it so simple, because it doesn't have any formulas in it. I think you made a comment about it, like this is the first time I see a template with no formulas in it, and I replied to it saying like, yeah, that's because I try to keep this as simple as possible, so people can look at it as an example and they'll grow into it, they'll add stuff to it, it'll give them ideas, because Notion is like strong because people change stuff. You build it, you make it your own. And that's the trick mostly. That's like, I think, I'm not sure. Do you ever use templates, Danny, like from other people?
Do I use them? No. Do I have a look at them? Yes. Like,
yeah, well, that's.
Yeah, I'm at a point. Well, I was at a point because I've been using it for so long. It's like I'll look at the template, and a lot of the time, it's like I know how I would do it, or how I would build it, or how I would change it. So it's more of like I guess I look at the art and then I go and build my own thing.
Yeah. So that's like the level where we're at. Like we know enough about it that we look at something and we take the ideas that we want and then we add it to our own system. So we pick and mix what's there, but we would very rarely like take something verbatim and then use that as a base, because we just want to tweak so much that it's just easier to build it from scratch. And then I started noticing that a lot of people out there, they want these templates, because it's not for nothing that Notion spent all this time converting all their templates to Korean, because people need some place to get started if they don't know Notion. But we're not the target audience for those. It's like, I don't care about the templates from Notion.
I was going to say, I think it's a nice like self-check. Like if you can look at a template and you can recreate that template, you know Notion.
Yeah, that's true. It's like
if you can look at someone's template or the default templates and go, I can recreate that in a couple of minutes, Notion.
I've got like a perfect example of that one. You'll notice this. Like I forgot my Daystart page. You might recognize this bit where it says flashcards, where I just built my own system because I looked at your system going like, yeah, but I want it simpler than this. So this is like my learning every day set. And it just has 5 checkboxes and uses the modified date to calculate a level. And then everything that's in the flashcard is based on a filter. So this says like, depending on level, it will reappear after a longer period of time. That's it. I looked at your flashcard system, your what is it, spaced repetition or space? There's a word.
Yeah, I think that's what I called the video, but essentially it's just flashcards. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I look at that, I analyzed it, and then we're like, okay, this is the things I need, and I'll build that. But I wouldn't call that like better or anything. It's like, yeah, I just took the core essentials and plugged it in. It's what I needed.
Yeah. Took away what you didn't need and used what you wanted. Like,
yeah.
It's just taking inspiration. Like I watch, I make it fairly well known, but I watch as many things about Notion as possible. I've watched like every Notion video in the last like 6 months. They've all been watched. Every day I'll go through and I'll look at all the most recent ones. And it's not that I'm expecting for them like to teach me something new about Notion, because I feel like I understand the blocks fairly well and how everything works, but it's finding like a use case or getting inspiration for something or seeing them do something. I'm like, I think I would do it this way, and then just playing around with that. And that's how I consume a lot of Notion content. Yeah, Notion content. It's similar with August stuff. Like August has his system. I've got my system. I watch his videos, not because I'm going to adopt the system or anything like that. It's just seeing how, I think we spoke about this before, seeing how another Notion user uses Notion.
Yeah, that's like the most useful thing. Is like I modified my videos at some point to that as well, because I noticed that if I go in depth to explain how something works, I find that less interesting than taking a bit higher level approach as to seeing how I apply Notion to get something done. And then diving into the details as they are needed. So that's like, just give it overview, say people, there's a template, you can use that and tweak around with it, but not really go into the nitty gritty of it. So people just can take the ideas and then freely apply them to their own set.
Nice. So I have a question in the form that I will go over very quickly, and then we can dive back into your space. So this question is from Pamela. I'm not sure whether you're still in chat. This question was submitted a while ago, but it says, thank you. Hi, thank you very much for the business days between formula. That was a formula that I showed last week. It's in the free templates if you're watching now, or in the replay. If you go to my public page, there's loads of examples and stuff that you can just duplicate. It'd be really, really helpful whether you explain which I need to make for more than 2 weeks. Okay, so yeah, so actually if I go, I'm going to bring my screen up now. Oh no, that was a bad idea, because you're going to have infinite, there we go. Infinite thing. Right, let's go to my public page. So it's examples here, so we're going to go into here, and it was the days between. So I feel like I'm not going to go in depth as how I'm going to do this. What I'll probably do is create the template, and then you can I'll either show it next week, or you can just keep your eyes out. But essentially, what this formula was doing was counting how many days, business days specifically, are in between. So it's taking away the Saturday and Sunday from this number. And the question was to do it for longer than 2 weeks, because this only works for 2 weeks. Because of all the nuance in counting these numbers, it gets kind of big. So what I essentially I'm doing is I'm looking for anything between 1 and 5 days, because then 6 and 7 will be Saturday, Sunday, and then taking those off and doing some numbers around. This is for 2 weeks. To expand that further, I think you said 12 weeks in the question. What I will do is I'll actually take a different route to answering like the formula works, but essentially I'll get it done. Oh, have you just put that in chat?
Yeah.
Should have checked that. Oh, I was just like, tools on tech. That's you. Yeah. So this, basically, I will redo this formula so that it works for longer than 2 weeks. I will have to troubleshoot it a little bit, but basically, this is counting how many business days there are rather than full days. If it's full days, that's really easy. That's just date between. But yeah, so this is a template. It's called business days between, and you can see that it's got only works for 2 weeks. If I go back, you'll see the other entries. In a calendar view, it doesn't look very nice because each entry is like a bar, so it just doesn't look pleasant. But yeah, so I'll make sure I get that done. I'll write that down.
Isn't it like once you have like a week, the rest is just the amount of weeks times 5 instead of?
It's like, what do you mean? Oh, is it, so
I was.
What was the formula?
Because the formula, like as I said, I was looking at the same formula last week, and luckily in my case it was very simple. People basically just wanted the last business day, so mine checked it just like if it's Monday, then check Friday, and then all the other times just check the day before. But I was thinking on comparing business days, and then it's like, yeah, if I want to do that, then the trick is usually the first week, because you need to know the day of the week and when the weekend is to count the amount of days. But there's once you get to like the beginning of the week, you can just count all the weeks before that and do them times 5, because then you know the business days. Of course, you need to know it on both sides, because you have like a start date that could be halfway through the week and the end week.
Yeah, that's basically how I'm going to go about doing it. So I'll have a check for however many weeks there are. If there's weeks, I'll times it by 5, because there's 5 days, 5 business days in 1 week, if that's how you're defining it, and then add on the days that are left.
Yeah.
So if it's 2 weeks, it'll be 2 times 5 is 10, and then add on however many days. Then so that's how I'll go about doing it.
I assume it won't take holidays into account.
No, it would literally just be whenever this is. So it's going to work from the start date of the time worked and then the end date of time worked. If you want to take out holidays, you'd either have to like manually take that away from maybe another box. So maybe you'd have the numbers there, and if you have holiday numbers, you can have that as a separate property. So you could manually put in a holiday if you wanted to. But yeah, there's a couple of workarounds for that. But yeah, that would be case specific, I think.
That one's very tricky. Like, I mean, that's of course like the geeky side of me is like, if you find some way to work around that, I'd be super curious at some point. Because I was raping my head over that and go like, that's nearly impossible. Like, I need to really like compare it to like another database with all the dates, and of course holidays are very dependent on where you are on the planet. That becomes the moment that code becomes a thing. It's
it's I think it's one of those things in Notion where you have to think completely outside of the box. You can't just look straight at Notion. You have to go, okay, what maths, what numbers can I use to figure this out? Like, we know that there's 7 days in a week, so we can use that to our advantage. But it's working out what numbers that are constant that we can actually use in the formula. I'm just seeing what's going on in chat. What's going on? So that was your message. Could you zoom in on the code of YouTube? Oh, okay. I will take it back to. I'll take it back to my screen. If I share my screen again, you can access this on the public on the link. So if you want to literally just duplicate it, you can have a look. That's what Roxanne's just done. But he was going to explain stuff. Okay, yeah. So what I will quickly go through roughly how it works, and I will try and zoom in. So let's go into
Can
there.
you zoom in StreamYard?
Sorry.
I'm thinking that the quickest solution for this is if you make the Notion screen a bit smaller and just share the screen like I did with my Notion page, because then it automatically zooms.
Like that.
Now this is the full zoom, but say for example, like if you take my screen currently that's shared, I think that if I do this,
Yeah.
because if I just share a screen and I just make it smaller, then it zooms it in.
Yeah,
it's more like because that should work on your laptop as well. Like you're now sharing your whole laptop screen.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. I was gonna zoom in to as much as I can. I'm just curious to see if it's going to work with the formula. There's the formula. So, oh, there we go. Is that getting bigger on screen? Looks like it. Let's just zoom in.
It's like one of those things that I hope that will never change. Like this tweaking things and not being too serious about it. Like it needs to be perfect. Like no, try that button, and then.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to zoom in, but I need to. Yeah, so this probably looks like gobbledygook. So I will very quickly go through this and how it kind of works. So we've got the date between, which is essentially the question. The end is the end date of this time worked property. So it's looking at the end date, so the last one. And then the start is the first one. So that's the first date and the second date. And I'm asking what that is in days and asking, is it smaller than or equal to 4? If it is, then it's going to do this bit. So that is the yes answer to the question. And literally everything else is the no answer. So it's one question. The first answer is here. So that's if that's true. If it's not true, then it's everything else. And all I'm really doing is repeating that question further down. So if it's smaller than or equal to 4, then put the difference between the start date and the end date, which is fairly simple. But if it's not, that's where it gets complicated and you need to start adding on. And yeah, I would go further into it, but it's hard to explain without showing you what each bit does. So I would go into the public page, duplicate it, and then take bits out, add bits in, and see how it works. Is that how you would explore it? I've asked at the worst time. You just started drinking.
Sorry. Yes, no, like what I would do as well is like I break it up into smaller parts and then try to get the answers out and then combine them later, because sometimes they can become very complex and then it just says error on the end and I don't know where. Yes, at some point, like it's clear that the editor wasn't designed with people like us in mind that go like, yeah, let's just put like half a book in there and then see if it works.
I think I tweeted about this the other day, actually. Like, I wish it was a scroll bar, because as soon as you have too much in there, you can't see anything and you can't scroll anywhere. You're like, now what?
Yeah.
Just please.
But I've been trying to get a scroll bar in there with Grease Monkey, but my JavaScript foo isn't strong enough for that one.
I'm going to make sure I'm going to have to go back to my space to see if the thingies are working. Wow, that looks still zoomed in. You're going to see all the stuff I haven't done today because I've added loads of tasks in.
That's probably just as bad as mine. The heat definitely wasn't helping this week.
Oh, that's one too many. Ow. Oh, no, I was right. There we go. That's right. There we go. I'm back to normal. All of these things. I added them all in like 10 minutes before stream. So I'll do them after stream. But yeah, and these are just like random things that I put in. But that's what's going on in my in my world right now. Let's take me off screen, bring you back. There we go. That's better. Now it doesn't show that I'm really inefficient. What you don't see is all the tasks I've ticked off because they're not there.
Yeah, it's like like being productive is like one thing, but at some point you just look at it and go like, I'm a mess. What do you mean there's a mess? It's like there's 5 things on my task list. How do you mean there's just 5 things? It's like the rest is done, but like this is. I think that's also something that comes from the whole inbox zero mentality. I'm not sure how it's with you, but with me, like my inbox needs to be empty. And in the beginning, that's okay. And now I just stand next to a coworker at work, and then they have like 10,000 emails in their inbox, and I'm just twitching like that when I'm standing there. It's like, how do you work? How do you find stuff? What?
When I don't know whether it's like me, but training, like sports, whatever, you see people look at their phone and you see all like the red numbers, like 1,100 and something emails, like 30 something notifications on. I'm like, too many red numbers.
Yeah, just
get rid of it.
And it becomes a problem at some point. For me, example, because I have this inbox zero thing. If I have to open WhatsApp, it shows me the group chats next to the people that I want to contact at that point in time. And then my mind just jumps to that. It just looks and it goes like, there's numbers there. You need to look, then they go away. This is the moment that this whole self-trained get inbox zero thing is working against me hard. The other main culprit on that one is Slack, I think, which I love and I hate Slack.
I'm curious, what are your like triggers or workarounds to help you through the inbox zero, or just the endless notifications?
There's a lot of things that I've done to block the notifications. So the reason I love and hate Slack is because Slack has like a lot of ways around it to really crunch through the set that they have. So anytime I open Slack, I know there's going to be like 6 or 7 chats at work. So I keep it closed. And I use virtual desktops on Windows, where I just have all my chat boxes and stuff on one screen, and I switch to the next virtual desktop, and they're all hidden. I don't see them. I don't try to look at them, and then just have time blocks where I actually open them and work on them. Other ways that I work around it is definitely my phone doesn't make any noise on nearly nothing. I just accepted that I miss things. If people call me, 9 out of 10 times I won't pick up. Anybody that I know that's watching, listening, seeing this, it's not you, it's me. I'll call back.
Yep. I'm exactly the same. Yeah. I have my phone's on mute and it's not vibrating. So if I can't see the screen, which when I'm working, I have the screen facing away from me anyway. If I can't see it, doesn't matter if you're calling me or texting me. I don't know until I look at my screen again. So I just completely avoid distractions.
I do you one better. If I need to focus on work, like I get this phone and I open this drawer and I put it in here so it's out of the way, and then I just chuck it. And that's like how easily distracted I am by it. Just having it on the desk. This is one of the things, like I was talking about this huge ass screen that I have these days with virtual desktops. And one of the unexpected benefits that I have is that when I had 2 screens, I always had like one screen with apps on it that I always wanted to open, but one of those apps was Slack, so that didn't work. And then when I started this, I started redesigning my workflow on Windows, and I started using virtual desktops and zones. And that means that, for example, now I'm having this conversation with you, I switch to like a desktop and it only has things for the stream. So YouTube is on the side, I can see the chat and type stuff to confuse you while we're chatting. And then the left side is the thing I'm sharing, and in the middle is like your video, so that I'm at least looking in the middle if I'm talking to you. And there's nothing else. Yeah, todoist, because I need to be able to add tasks if I think of something. But nothing that can distract me from the work that I'm doing. And that actually helps a lot. I was surprised about how effective it is if you have like a screen that only does what you're trying to focus on. I think distractions are like the bane of existence in the digital age. Because I tried explaining my son that, because he doesn't understand the bigger picture. So like all these companies that make apps for your phone, their goal, the thing that they get paid for, the thing that they train for, they go to workshops about it, is to get you into their app, interacting with it. That's what they do. You can't win this.
Distract you. That social media. The people that work at any social media company, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, their job is to distract you.
Yes. This is their function, and we're like in a constant, you can almost say we're in a constant war with these people because we want our attention back. And we give them like the Trojan horse is the smartphone, basically, because that one just, it's...
Interesting one for you then. Productivity individuals that are on YouTube. So my personal take on this is I've made my videos as short as possible, well, as long as they need to be. So basically as short as possible, because I know that it's distracting from time. Like I give you the information you want and then you go away.
Yeah.
With the other productivity individuals out there, that have longer videos and beef them out with all the other stuff that makes it look really entertaining. Do you think that's hypocritical on their part?
No, I think that they have like a different target audience because they're providing entertainment. And I'm gonna be honest here. Like if I'm like sitting on the couch and I'm tired, I'll probably watch Thomas Frank's video over your video because I'm sitting there and I would just want to chill and just seeing him skateboard through like the city and stuff like that. I mean, I can switch off my brain. I can just watch that. And when I watch a video that you made, I know I'm just gonna get blasted with the information like straight away. It's gonna be get it through it in 4 minutes. And I'm definitely on making the video in that latter part. At some point, I start like I think in my template, I also have like start the video with giving people what they came for, and then if they want to stick around for the in-depth, then happy about it. But we start with giving them what they came for, and then the rest will be fine. So I think those are two schools of thought, and I think they're also both in different mindsets. They target a different audience. I'm pretty sure that if anybody in the chat here has a problem they need fixed, if I need a problem to get fixed on Notion and I look for an SE your video, it's like, that's the quickest way to my answer and I need it now. So then I'll click on those videos. I have the same one with video editing. There's one guy, he makes like 2-minute videos for DaVinci Resolve, which I use for video editing. Those things are brilliant. It's like, if I need the answer and that one's in between, I'm going to get my answer in 2 minutes. Gives me that. Like, I need to get this video done today. But then there's a whole set of guys that I watch because I just love zoning out for 10 minutes. And I don't know if you noticed, but like on my Daystart, there's an actual line that says like no YouTube videos before free. Because
I could not do that.
Neither can I. I compromised with myself and said, like, if I want to watch a YouTube video before free, I have to do it when I'm away from my desk having coffee. So then it becomes like a bit more like I'm sitting downstairs, I'm taking a moment, watching a video, having a coffee. I can only watch like 1 or 2 videos before it becomes awkward because my girlfriend starts looking and going like, don't you need to work? It's like, because she's working at the... So that's a bit of a self-control thing there to make sure that I don't get lost in the YouTube stream, because we all know how that goes. Like, it's like, I'm just going to find this thing that I need for this video that I'm editing, and then 3 hours later, you're watching about cats on the moon. It's... that's YouTube, right? I mean, that's what the algorithm is for. I mean, we complain all the time about how the algorithm pushes things forward, but the only thing that YouTube cares about is keeping people on YouTube as long as possible. That's the goal, and they're pretty effective at it.
If they weren't, they wouldn't be the second biggest search engine behind Google.
Yeah, true. Also, a nice like tidbit is last week, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, I moved my YouTube account. So I have like a Google Apps account, and I got YouTube in it with premium, and I get a family account, and you can't use that with apps. So I paid YouTube twice, once for my private account and once for my business account. And I felt like, can't I move all those videos that I'm watching, all those subscriptions to like my private account, so I'm in the family pack and I'm done. I got that working. There's a way you can turn it into a channel and then move the channel to another account, and it works, which is happy. But the YouTube algorithm forgets what you've watched ever. So that meant like the first video that I watched, my feed was just those videos. I watched the odd ones out. I just got like 600 odd ones out suggested videos in my YouTube stream. The thing's been, it's returning to normal now. Luckily, I usually just start watching subscriptions, but it's a very interesting take to see how the algorithm works. Another one that I heard from people that I know that met me on LinkedIn, that watched one of my videos till the end, is like they suddenly have like all my videos in their feed, because YouTube just goes like, if you watch a video to the end, then you probably like this guy. Here's like 10 more.
Here's loads more. Have them all.
Yeah, which is horrible, because they also get the videos from like a year and a half back when I got started, and the audio is terrible and the light is off.
I've unlisted some of those. I've got about 70 unlisted videos.
You got more unlisted videos than I have. This is it's just a mad respect there. It's
yeah, we could talk YouTube for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm looking into chat. Torrin said when you were talking about the phone, reason why I don't like WhatsApp, my module group. Yeah, like when I was at uni, I'm still at uni. The module groups and the group chats, you're in the Facebook group chats, the WhatsApp group chats, they just keep like pinging. I just mute them all.
Yeah,
I can go on
mute
WhatsApp,
groups by default.
15 messages.
But I mostly would just want to move all those things to things like Discord. Unfortunately, and I know that's not going to happen, but if I had a choice, I would move them to Discord, because then I could switch. Like, I could go to Discord for my social bits where I talk with all the groups and find the information. I could just use the WhatsApp for the one-on-one communication when I need to ask someone something. And now those two things are mixed. And it means that WhatsApp gets an unfair advantage compared to all the other social media apps, because they hook me when I need something from someone.
So something else from chat. Personally only look for videos when I got 10 minutes off. 90% of videos are about 10 minutes. They're 10 minutes because of money.
They're going to be 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
I knew what was coming here.
Yeah. YouTubers know. Yeah, the length is going to go to 8 minutes in, like, is it this month or next month?
This month.
I knew it was close, but yeah. Money is literally the main reason for a 10-minute video.
It's like
yeah,
terrible.
YouTube.
And that means they get it's just to get extra ads in there. I mean,
no one watches the ads anyway. Like the thing that irritates me, right, as a viewer, is I hate ads, full stop. So when I got ads available, I was like, I'll put one at the beginning because everyone's used to that anyway. I'm not putting any in the middle because it just winds me up. I'm like, I don't want to put ads in the. I could, but I'm like, I don't want to because it's just annoying as a viewer. It's like, go away.
It's like I can't yet, of course, because I'm not monetized yet in that, because I don't have 1,000 subscribers. But that's just a matter of time. And I get like the same thing set up there as well. Like, I don't want mid-roll ads. I hate the whole idea of breaking a video to have an ad. That's like, just there's no amount of money that people could pay me. That's like selling myself short. I need to be able to look myself in the mirror at some point. True.
I reading through Torrens. I was going to say essay, but it's a YouTube comment, so it's not really an essay. But he says often watches YouTube last thing at night. To me, that's literally like the worst thing to do, because my brain would just be ticking over and I would just not get to sleep. I struggle to get to sleep anyway. If I watch a video before I go to bed, like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, I'm not going to bed. My brain will be ticking. If, however, I come across something I could learn from, I add it to the
same.
My watch later list is. I feel like I assume most of us know like Tiago Forte, because productivity, second brain. Who doesn't? If you don't, he runs a second brain. Is it called a masterclass, a course, a membership? I think it's a course.
I'm not sure. I thought it was masterclass, but tomatoes.
It's amazing program. But essentially talks about digital tools, using it as a second brain, and his process, like his Evernote of taking notes with all the other apps that he uses, and dumps all of the clips from articles and blogs and stuff. That for me is my YouTube watch later list. Like everything I want to learn, want to know, I'm like, that goes watch later. Like in my watch later list, I will have normally between 5 and 10 long videos. Like I'm talking 40 plus videos, and then a load of shorter videos. And whenever I have a bit of time, I'll just go watch later. What's in there? Oh, this, and then the whole note-taking process happens. But
I've got 2 lists for it. Like I got my watch later list, which is usually what I use because that works anywhere where I'm at. If I'm behind my computer and I see something and I want to, I need more control, like it's a video editing thing and I want to watch it when I get time to actually do something with it, I add it to Todoist. So with Todoist, you can just select the title and then right-click, say add to Todoist, and then it links to the video. This is something that I do to mix it up a bit or to group things. But it's most of the time it's watch later, because it's not so much now. Usually when I was like in the train, I got like half an hour to an hour of YouTube in 2 ways every day to get the watch later list down. It's trickier now. Now I have to go downstairs and drink coffee till 3 to get through it.
The ability to add something to watch later, I think, is what makes it so attractive for me. Like on my phone, I get notifications for all the channels that I have notifications for. before, and I can just swipe down. I'm like, watch later, not bothered, watch later, and then that's it done. So I don't have to go onto my computer or do anything because it's all notifications on my phone. And then I can look in the watch later list and suddenly go, oh, I've got 50 videos in there. Let's start watching some.
I see a comment about the price of the YouTube premium bit.
Where's that?
The last one from Toron in the chat. And yeah, I get that. There's like two things that I'd like to add to that one. One is that I just made a calculation. I watch a lot of YouTube. I mean, and to me, it was just the calculations. Like I watch like 6 hours of YouTube a week, probably. It's just ridiculous. And that means that like if it's like 6, it's like I made a small calculation. It was like that's 100 or more ads that I need to watch that are all like 10, 20 seconds. And I just made a calculation. It was like, yeah, they could charge 50 euros for it, and it would still cheaper be for me to just pay them and say like, I'll go work for a couple of hours to pay for that because instead of watching ads.
YouTube Premium.
Yeah, I'm definitely on YouTube Premium. If you don't want to pay so much, though, there's a quick trick for that. Get a VPN, log into India or another country, get YouTube Premium there, and then switch off your VPN because Google doesn't care. They just charge you like, I think, €2 a month for YouTube Premium. So if you're really, really fixed on like getting that price down and they don't care, like you just need a VPN when you're signing up and you get like the cheaper rate from other countries. Google it. It's what Google's for.
I'm just keeping an eye on chat, and I've just seen this pop up. Can you see that? That's interesting. Interesting.
Yes, yeah, and that's definitely like $16 is a lot of money. Like, but this is more on par with like I think the Netflix and the other things that they're selling a subscription service for watching videos, and I think it's around that price range. It's still a lot.
I've just seen this chat. I've just seen this put in chat beforehand. Just lost 5 years when you start talking about cats on the moon. Well, I think the title is something like Notion. How do I organize your tasks in Notion? We're talking about cats on the moon.
Yeah, well,
cats on the moon. It'll happen. It'll happen. I'm sure there's been dogs on the moon. Right. Cool. So should we actually get back to Notion? We've sort of like disappeared from Notion for a while.
Yeah.
So I'll bring you back on stream. There we go. I was going to call that Superman then. Oh dear. Iron Man.
I'm gonna see if I can. It takes a while. For some reason, Notion's like in sort kind of hold mode. I'm gonna see if I can zoom it in a bit so that it's more readable for Rudy. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So the things that I had is like it's based on the power system. I'm not sure if everybody knows the power system in here, but the power system I think it was projects, area of responsibility, resources, and archive. And I did something similar. So I have the areas of responsibility, which I do to divide work up into like different sections for what I need to work on. And then under those, I put all my projects. So every project needs to be an area of responsibility. So if I open a project and I look in this, then you can see here that area of responsibility is filled. And it uses that data to hook it up to other related information. Then I have the logbook that's then related to projects where I put like all the tidbits in. Because there's one of the things that I started noticing when I'm working with people is I get a lot of small things that I do for people, help people there, help people with a small set, get a question, coffee break, stuff like that. I put all those things in a logbook. And for my daily stand-up, which I have for work, I actually have like a dashboard for the daily stand-up, obviously, because I make dashboards for everything. And there's a linked table in there that just shows me the logbook for that company for the last day. So when I'm at the daily stand-up, I know exactly what I did the last day with all the details. Research, because you constantly get things that get added. And context, and that's also a role under that I have here, the involved context. That actually looks at the logbook and all the context there were with them. I thought about not having those two separate, but you have people that are related to a project. And I also have people that were in the meeting for some reason, and I don't know why. And I wanted those to be able to see like, okay, this person is semi-related or knows something about it, but isn't directly involved in the project. And this just rolls up any logbook entries like that has someone in it. So if I add someone here, they get added to this overview that I have in the project. Let me see.
Is that kind of like I guess it's like your journal, basically.
Yeah, it's a journal, but I also use it for meeting notes now, because for Notion, it doesn't matter that there's like a large lap of text under a journal entry. I just use the description as a journal entry, and if it needs more detail, I open the page and add stuff. And then the final bit, like resources and context. Context seems obvious to me. Of course, like any company that I work for, I have like 100 contacts, and I don't want to type in all their information. Also, I want to be able to relate them, so that if I get a call from someone, they go like, "Hey, remember me?" I can go like, "Who are you again?" And then open the contact bit and go like, "Yeah, we talked about that during that meeting session 6 months ago, which I forgot, but luckily I have a digital brain."
Digital brain. Not a second brain, a digital brain.
Yeah, well, I forget anything that goes into this brain, I forget constantly. So it's like, I don't trust this one. I did some. There's a blog, and they have a book. You're not as smart as you think. If you ever want to read something depressing, go read that one and learn how stupid we really are. It's wonderful.
What's Gail saying in chat? I've just seen a big old message from Gail. YouTube Premium. Bought the family subscription to spare. Okay, yeah. Is there quite if you're on YouTube Premium then? Because I feel like there's like quite a few of you. If you're on YouTube Premium, put yes in the chat. I'm curious to see how many use YouTube Premium. Obviously, all of us are on YouTube, so it's just interesting.
Yeah,
because I can see with the monetization how many people use, like how many percentage of my monetized views are from YouTube Premium, and it's only like 0.9% or something. So I thought there would be like 1 or 2 people, but it sounds like there's quite a few.
Yeah.
Don't know. We'll see. Sorry, I interrupted. My bad.
No. It's like so one of the tricks that I did is I have a formula under each area of responsibility, and this is something where my current manager really hates me, because in my original setup, I calculate the amount of hours I spent per area of responsibility, because I have only got 32 hours in the week, because I work 4 days for them, and they want me to do everything. I can't do everything. I only have 2 hands. I am limited by space and time. It's painful but true.
But you're Iron Man.
Be Iron Man. And Iron Man, a lot of his time to what he does, because Iron Man needs to party and needs to save the world. So he adjusts his time, though we can argue that he spends less time saving the world and more time partying if he has the chance. What I do is that in every project, there's an hours allocated variable to it. And there's a roll-up that says all the projects that are under it that are active. And then I get a status bar, and it just shows an emoji per project and per hour. So this is 2 hours. So it shows me 1 project and 1 or 2 hour clocks. And then when I look in the overview, I can at a glance see like, okay, how busy am I in said area of responsibility, and how much time do I allocate to it? Now, the time that I allocate, I block out in a Google Calendar. With lots of room around it, so I never really reach the 32 hours in blocks, because there's time needed for Slack and email and stuff like that. Anybody worth their salt shouldn't assign 100% of the time, because it won't work. You can try. I think it's brave. It won't work. Use the 80 positively. It's not going to work. If you manage to get it work, you're lying. It's that simple. But,
do you want to quickly show the formula on screen for people?
Sure. For people that want to see the formula, it's pretty simple. What it is just a whole bunch of icons, and I use slice, which says start at 0, calculate a number. In this case, it does a floor, meaning that it rounds it down, and it has to do with ×2, because emojis are 2 characters. You see only 1, but they are 2 characters in the calculation. So I do it ×2, and then it just shows me that many icons.
A very small caveat to that: it's not all of the emojis. Some of them are 1.5, some of them are 2.5. So if you have an emoji that's 2, it works. If it's not 2, then the slice doesn't work. And the way around that is by using the replace all inside the slice. So you can have a number, like say 1s, and then you can replace all of the 1s. So you could slice the 1s as you're doing it, and then replace the 1s with the emoji. That way you get completely around, irrelevant of how big or small. So you can have different size emojis in your progress bar or whatever display you're using. Did you know you're typing it down? Did you not?
I'm typing it in my todoist now to get that fixed.
I think I show it in one of the progress bar examples in the public page. It's because it just allows you so much more freedom with what emojis you can use.
Yeah. Okay, so like I'll fix that because I wanted to be able to work with any icons, but it shows me like an overview. And what I did is in my current business set, I also put like a variable in there that says the amount of hours that I have per week, and it calculates a percentage. And then it becomes very interesting once you have like a conversation. So for example, I'm part of the Scrum Master Guild, and the dude that runs it said like, we need to get all these things done. It's like a whole board with things on it. And I said like, well, I did a quick calculation and I'm assigning around 6% of my time towards this cause. That's 2 hours a week, and we're spending 1 hour in this meeting. So I have 1 hour left for this. And you have these things like, how do you plan on getting around that? So I use Notion to basically tell people like, make choices if you want to have this meeting, because meetings take up a lot of time and they need to pay back for themselves. People are starting to dislike me because I start throwing out this data, because they hate the harsh truth that people have a limited amount of hours, and that the reason why nothing gets done is because you spread people too thin. Using something like this, I can tell people why we are spread too thin, and I'm currently trying to figure out if I can upscale this towards team size, because I run a team at that company, where I just like multiply the hours times people that I have, and then see if I can like give them a global indication about how much time are we spending on patches, how many time we're spending on updates, creating new stuff, solving problems, and just having them. Yeah.
As soon as you said it, I was like, can you do that? Yes, you can. Because you could you could do it loads of different ways. I'm thinking having a database for each individual. So you'd have an individual number, and then you can use the roll-ups into one database, or you could have it all in one database and then use the calculations. You'd still need to bounce the info unless you do a self. It could work. That'd be cool. That would work.
I'm probably gonna start with like a simplified version first that just upskills everything, and then the mental gymnastics needed to think, okay, how can I assign it per person so that if somebody goes on holiday, I know which areas will lower. I'm gonna see if I can get that in Notion as well. The main problem that I have is that I'm the only one using Notion. I mean, a few of my coworkers check my Notion because they want the information that's in there for obvious reasons. But the company is not. I'm currently trying to convince them to get to something. I don't care what they have as long as everybody can type in it at the same time, because it's 2020. Anybody that sends me an Excel spreadsheet and asks me to up the version number just gets like words from me. It's like, no, we got this solved. Google Docs solved this more than a decade ago, yes. I believe. It's like we should no longer be doing this. This is costing valuable time and money for any company that still thinks this is a reasonable thing. And usually it comes down to, I think I did calculation for some people where they go like, but like Jira or Confluence is like €6 a month, or I think Office has like a live edit function as well that checks all the. It's usually about €5-6 per person per month, and then I just make like a quick calculation. So like sending this document around, that just costs you probably around 6 times that each month that you pay per year for this service. It's like you're not really being smart here. You're wasting time on one end and trying to save money on the other. But having data, having something like Notion where I can no longer get called by people saying like, you can do this, but actually have a conversation with these people and go like, no, I can't. And this is why. This is why I have a pro account at Notion. It's like, I'll chuck money at that as long as like if they help me defend my time, then I'm sure that they can have some cash for that, because I earn it back in spades. But you have to build something like this. And over time, like I started with separate databases, and then I started with global databases, and then I found out that I still wanted them separate. It's my main pain point is like now trying to drag them separate again.
I think that came up last week with the idea of the all-in-one database where you have everything in one place. And I think it works for people that don't have that much information, but as soon as your space starts to build out and you want to add nuanced information for certain things like projects and tasks and management and things like that, you need more properties. You need to be able to do more things. And with an all-in-one database, to start with, the properties just get absolutely massive. And it gets very hard to do that mental gymnastics in your head. How is this going to work?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I started hitting. I'm also wondering, like, at what point the database becomes too large. Like, I know for a fact that you remove things once you're done with them. So that should keep your databases pretty lean.
Some of them,
leanish, some of them. But like you know, at what point does this flexibility that Notion have starts hitting limits? Because I'm a system engineer from origins, so I look at like, how does this scale? At some point, it shouldn't scale anymore. It's just hard to do.
So I can give you some like tests that I've done personally. When it comes to rows in Notion, I've had a database with over 10,000 rows. I put 15,000 rows into the Notion database, and because it's only loading a certain amount on the page, you're fine. If you start scrolling for miles and don't let Notion catch up, then you get delay. So when it comes to storing information, you're good. And obviously, when you're filtering that information, it's only looking for those certain rows. So the data storage is fine. When it comes to displaying information, depending on what you're asking Notion to do, it does slow down. So if for example, you're asking Notion to show you a formula inside a gallery view, and that formula is based on 2 roll-ups from 2 separate databases, then it takes time because it's got to load the databases in the background, get the relation, get the roll-up, and then put it in the formula, then show it in the gallery. Yeah. I've done that. I've tried to stretch Notion, and that's the slowest I've seen Notion go. By literally asking it to load loads of things in the background and throw it all in gallery, which is the slowest view Notion has anyway, because of obviously the display. But it's still manageable to some extent, but it's not ideal.
Oh man, I can just see the back end now. Like from an ops perspective, as someone who runs operations, I just see like the Grafana, the background graph board at Notion headquarters, one like one of those queries spiking, and people go like, "What's that?" It's like, that's just Danny Hatcher testing the limits. It's like, so
you might have seen it. I made a GIF a couple of weeks ago now. I made a time blocking schedule thing where it's like inline maths inside text block, and I had like the whole week mapped out from like midnight through to like the next midnight, essentially in half-hour blocks, and they were all going down. And I had all 7 days, and it was in a template button. Right, you can see where this is going.
Yes. So
every time you push template button, it generates what's that? So that's 24 times 7 is 140, 160-ish blocks, all inline maths, like with one push. And I sat there, pushed the button like 20 times. Notion was like, hold up.
Oh man, I love that. Like breaking the system is like it's partially what I do for a living, right? I get called by developers and they say like, stuff isn't performing, fix it for me. And I'm going like, I'm not even sure what you're doing with it. I mean, you have to imagine that I'm sitting there, I'm just looking at a database, and someone comes along and says like, Danny has been trying to do this to break it. Do you know why it breaks? And then I have to puzzle it together with the guy that actually knows how the software works. Yeah, this is like, it's good stuff, because I think it's important to do it now and not wait until somebody that actually needs it to get work done hits it, because that's the point that it's too late. Like if we're messing around and it becomes slow, it's like, okay, we can work around it, we'll tweak it. But I'm pretty sure that a couple of the viewers that we have will hit a point where they hit this and they don't know why. They don't know why a roll-up and a roll-up is stretching it to the limits, and why it becomes slower and slower over time. And then I just hope we can help them.
Yeah, it's funny. So Roxanne, if you're still in chat, Roxanne sent me, I don't know whether, like, she obviously found, or I don't think it was a bug. It might have been a bug. I'm not sure how that conversation ended up. But essentially, she'd found something that she thought was a bug, and I'm not sure whether it is or isn't. And she just sent me messages like, I think I found a bug. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning for me, because obviously my phone's on mute, didn't see it. I wake up at like, I don't know, 9 o'clock, and look at my phone. I'm like, what? Wake up, what's going on? What's she talking about? And I have found so many bugs in Notion just by like pushing the limits of it. And when you find something, you're like, oh, is this a bug? And yeah, it's just fun. It was just fun.
Yeah.
And you can see whenever they do the updates, I swear, like whenever they do the updates and they say recent bug fixes, like 50% of them, I'm like, I reported that.
That's like, if you're stretching the system, you'll quickly find out. It's one of those shared joys to have at some point, where people ask me about performance issues and I'm going like, this is something I told you up front. Like, if you're going to try this, be prepared that it's going to be rough. And I've also had like really weird setups at some point. I think the worst one for me is that once I had like a website where the caching was on point, and then I found out that if you share a URL that doesn't exist, it doesn't cache it. And they used that one. They had like the wrong URL for one of their main days where everybody tries to log in at once. So the whole site just went up in flames in the morning, and I get a call and saying like, what the hell happened? And I spent like 50 minutes searching for it because I didn't get why. So like, it should be cached and stuff. And then at some point I found out that they made a typo somewhere causing the 404s, and the 404s weren't cached, and I enabled caching there. And then you have to try and fix it while the system is slow because everybody's hitting the button. I just took the site offline to fix it at some point.
Troubleshooting that, like, because before I report a bug, I try and work every single thing out. Like, is it a bug, or have I messed up somewhere? I'm recreating the same thing, changing, and I'm like, yes, it's definitely a bug. But you've got to make sure.
Bug reporting or any problem is like explaining what the problem is, what happens, is super hard. It's one of those. I've also noticed, like, because the last couple of weeks I've spent more time answering questions on Facebook and Reddit, for example, and then people ask something, but they just ask it like everybody knows what they're talking about, and it's like one sentence, and I have to figure out reading that what it actually is. So I just do a best guesstimate and give them an example, hope that it works. Because that, like, and I don't blame them for it. It's actually pretty hard. Like what you said, like figuring out how it all works. I'm pretty sure that people inside Notion are very happy with that because they get something, and then if they know how to simulate it, then they can build it and they can fix it. And that's like a programmer's dream, right? It's like, if you can have something that you can test and you don't have to talk to a person to test it, that's 10 times faster than even if you have them like online. Because if you have that where you need to call someone to check if it works, that's like solving a Rubik's Cube through a phone. Like, I changed this. Is it good now? It's like, no. And now it's like, you don't want that. You want something that you can just spin like this. Is it good? You look at it. And so a good bug report helps people all around getting it resolved.
Something that I've done just from my end is I record the bug, like what's going on. Like this is how I've made it. This is what happens, and this is what I think should happen. And I think that helps. I don't know from like the other end, but I try and give them as much information as possible.
Mm-hmm. I see Toran making a comment, which I can relate to. Like, and if you're really brave, Toran, try doing a bad bug report and sending it to Linus Torvalds for a nice shout down at the beginning of the day. Because, oh my God, that guy is so evilly direct. It's like, it's terrible. He's not even nice. He gets too many bug reports, and I'm not sure. But I think it's needed at that level. Because if you're talking high-end engineers, if you're not super direct about somebody doing it wrong and then just telling them in no minced word that it's wrong, you don't get anything done. Not at that level. And usually, like, I would never be able to report a bug to someone that high up the chain because I don't work on the kernel on a day-by-day basis. So I would probably meet someone way down the line that's much nicer and that will help me through it. but Torvalds is known for not being very nice. He's just scarily direct.
I think there's like user error comes into bugs so much.
Yeah.
Like, is it actually a bug? And like you're saying about the Facebook and the Reddit chats, a lot of people say you can't do this in Notion, or this is broken, or this is a bug. And you just look at, I mean, if it's a formula, you look at the formula, you go, well, you got a comma in the wrong place, or whatever it is. And you look at the setup and you're like, well, it's not working because the relation's in the wrong place, or whatever the user error is. And you just sit there and go, oh, please, quit the whining.
Yeah, it's like the I don't like it pains inside a bit. Like when you see something and it's obviously a user error, and they blame whatever software they're using for everything. Like, and currently it's Notion, but I mean, I've seen plenty of software bug reports and people complaining about stuff. And I also feel for them at the same time, because I know I've trained senior people on Ubuntu, which is a brave undertaking, I can tell you. But you learn a lot about asking the right questions to people that absolutely do not know anything about the software they're using. And that helps me now when I'm looking at questions online and people make something which in our mind is a stupid mistake because it's obvious, but it's obvious for us. And then I can go like the frustration that you must have if you have this, the system isn't working, you don't know why. And then I compare it when I have one of those moments, but like on something that I don't know very well. Like I think Friday, it was hot and I was video editing and it was stuttering all the time and I couldn't figure out why. And I just went mental. I've been shouting through my house because I wanted to try to get things done and I had to go to a social call. And then the next day I sit down, cooler head, and I found the solution, which was wrong frame rate somewhere 5 menus deep in 10 minutes. But I get that frustration, like the frustration when you can't find the solution for something you think like this should just work. And yeah, that's
and I think sometimes where you're so head first into whatever it is, trying to solve the solution and find out whatever it is. And like for me anyway, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll leave it. I come back to it, and within like 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, why didn't I see that last time? Why didn't I see that in the last 3 hours of me trying to troubleshoot that thing?
Actually, that's like some science done on that. This is, which I believe is that like when you're working on the problem and you leave it and you go do something else, it just gets put like in the back burner. So connections get made and they become stronger. And then when you come back and you give your brain the same problem, it starts making those connections quicker or something. It's I'm not sure how it exactly works. I'm not like trained in how brains. Neuroscience is not like those people are. Like on their own level, but then again, they'll probably never know like the inner layers of Linux like I do. Like Torrent can probably come and be like, I compiled Gentoo from scratch, which you have to build like all the things, and I can recommend anybody that wants to know the bottom layers of Linux to try something like that. But that's also terrible because just getting your software installed, like Windows install, takes an hour. A Gentoo install on my PC, it's quicker these days. But like back then, I needed to do a full system install. It took me a week. It was busy a week compiling everything to get it installed. I couldn't use my PC. I just came home after work and just looked at it.
What was Torn put in chat? Frantically look. Yeah. So true. Like I'm not a Linux user, but like I've heard the stories, and it's just like I've just avoided it. And I'm a techie person, but I'm not that techie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's like Bob comments on that it's a 10-minute these days. Yeah, that's true. Like Windows improved a lot. I mean, I'm comparing Gentoo back in the Windows 95, 98 days, and then it was still longer. But the computers were also a lot slower, so I'm glad it's all less painful these days.
Yes, yeah, that's true. When it's interesting. So actually, going back to the I guess neuroscience. What's Rudy said in the chat? Neuralink program. Oh yeah, yeah. It's like when you go to bed and then you wake up the next morning. Studies have shown, I don't know how or why, but you remember things like you've just consumed or whatever before you go to sleep. I don't know how that works. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And then as soon as I found that out, I found out years ago. Like everyone that I knew that like was cramming in all of their like exam revision before bed, that I read through all of this stuff and then expect it to go in their minds. I'm like, and learning doesn't quite work like that.
No, you need more time for your body to make the connections. One thing that I found interesting and practiced over time is that when I'm trying to beat a hard video game, is that when I'm fighting this boss in the evening and I can't manage that these days, I just put the control down. So like, tomorrow morning, you're dead. And that's because I know that because I was training my brain before I went to sleep, and then I get rest and it becomes more like a built-in knowledge. And then the next morning with I'm fresh because I just slept and I had my first coffee. And B, I don't need to think as hard because it becomes like part of your psyche. And I've seen that multiple times, so that correlates with the research that you're telling there. But it only works for chunks, of course, because you can't cram a whole book and then hope that it will stick through night.
Well, you can cram the book, but don't expect to remember it all.
No. So yeah, it would work for small chunks, definitely. But I don't think there's a limit, of course. Like it's like training. You can't go like to the gym and then work out for 3 days straight. In fact, to be buff, it's a long time investment.
You need a lot of steroids.
Yeah, and even then,
actually, you probably need surgery in 3 days.
In 3 days, yeah, definitely.
I've just seen Troy said space repetition with Anki and probably Remnote. I know you've done some flashcards in Notion. Do you use anything else like Quizlet, Anki, Remnote?
None of them. Like the flashcards that I saw on your end, the only other thing that I had was a reminder field in my todoist where I just put it like on remind me about this every 7 days until it sticks. But that's not nearly as good as using flashcards because now I just get a question and I actually have to answer the question. And I never used anything else. I'm just trying this now to memorize stuff and see if that works, and it works pretty well. I hope that if I'm using this flashcard system, there's a few Japanese characters in it that when I go to Japan next year, I can actually order some food and not starve there because I'm just looking at it and try to order something and get like a drink instead of food. Or
yeah, you'll have to. So I think Red Gregory started like learning French using Notion. So you'll have to take some inspiration. Do you know Red? Have you seen her channel?
No, I don't think. Maybe I've seen it, but
yeah, Red Gregory. She's been tweeting about it. I think she's going to do a video on it. I'm not sure. So she's learning French using Notion, and she's made like tables and the rest of it using Notion for language. And I believe she's using Remnote as well. I know she's a big Remnote user. And trying to combine them together to learn French. So maybe you could do something similar for your. Is it Chinese? What is it called? Because I know they've got like different languages.
Oof, yeah, I didn't even know that, but I just had a few characters. Luckily, my girlfriend, she's learning Japanese, and she's much better at it than I am. So I'm probably just going to get surprise food when we go. But she came and said, like, you need to learn these characters. So I found the characters. Initially, I did the character in the description and then put the how you pronounce it into the description. That doesn't work because then I cheated on the hardest bit, which is knowing how the character looks. So I reversed it. And now if I don't know it, I draw it like 5 times to get it to stick. And hopefully when I get there, at least I'll be able to say what's the signs will be. But I'm not sure which ones there are. I think is it kanji? No, I'm probably like if there's Japanese people watching, they go like, "Oh my god, he's terrible." It's like, yeah, I know I'm terrible. I'll get better. I'll put that one to my flashcards.
Yep, I think there's so it's kind of similar with pronouncing the names. I'm like, I look at the names. I'm like, I'm not gonna pronounce this right. And it's the same with like any sort of language. Like even though you can read the letters are pronounced so much. Accents, languages, everything like that. How many languages do you speak? Just the one, or?
No, I speak German, English, Dutch, no French. That never really jive with me. My brother speaks French, so I think that free language that I can actually understand. I can order coffee in almost any language where I've been, like Italian and Spain. I've worked in Italy for a bit, but that was just once every month or 2 months. I was there for 2 or 3 business days, so that's not enough to really learn the language. I still think it's amazing that if you have like a language book for Italian, that like the second chapter starts with the hand gestures because that's important.
Is that serious?
It's serious. Like the official language guide that we had for eBay, because I was working for eBay at the time, and that one, like the second page, like the second chapter already talks about using the hands, because it's like Italians speak with their hands. It's
Good evening, Chuck. I'm just looking through the chat. Evening, Chuck. What's the? Oh, I was trying to work out what that said. Kanji. Kanji? Yeah. I'm assuming that's a language. I know Mandarin's a language. I think that's a language anyway. Mandarin in Chinese, is that? I don't know.
Mandarin is Chinese for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the extent of my language. I think it's kind of a British culture thing, maybe British English, but like I know English, and I feel bad saying it, but there's no need to learn another language. I feel like I should, but it's like, when would I use it? And it's bad. I know it's more. I think it's bad, but it's like I don't have a need to learn a language yet. I'm sure I'll find one. Well, I might find one. I don't know whether I will.
Yeah, that's like I think most other languages, like the Dutch for sure. Like we learn English. My son, he basically grew up on English Pixar until he started speaking it, and then he started gaming, and the rest is history. So then your English has to be good. I mean, if you can't say something bad about someone's mom, are you really an online gamer? But the other language, of course, like if you took England, it's like water all around. So like, what do you need to learn? I mean, if I drive for an hour and I blink, then I'm in Germany, and I need to start speaking German, because the Germans don't care about English. None. They're just like, they just go like, "Was sagen Sie?" And then you try to figure out what you get there. So yeah, we have to learn a bit, like, to understand them. I can get around the French part of Belgium, because they say that they don't speak any Vlaams, which is the Dutch bit. But they're actually pretty okay with trying a few words, as long as they know that you're not from Belgium yourself. If you're from Belgium, you should speak French. If they know you're Dutch, their cultures are weird.
You covered like 4 or 5 different ones right there. I'm like, where are we now? What part of the world are we in? I'm looking at the chat.
That's the difference, right?
Someone's talking about raining cats and dogs. Just on the road, it rained cats and dogs. I saw another cat somewhere. Maybe that's the cat on the moon that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. We've got language. This stream has been completely derailed. Notion out the window. We're talking countries, languages, raining cats and dogs. Yeah, there was. I was going to say something, but the comments disappeared. Where has it gone? There we go. This one. Bob, I assume these are languages, Falcon or Elfish, or is that
he's typing like Falcon or Elfish? Those are fantasy languages, of course.
Okay, I didn't know that. I legit thought they were like actual languages.
Well, like that depends a bit like what your definition of language is, because I know that the Falcon and Elfish are of course fantasy languages, but they are so worked out over time because people are phonetic that you can actually have a full conversation in it. Klingon is, I think, officially supported by Google Translate. So,
wow,
definition of language, why, as long as somebody can speak it.
True.
It's I think it's amazing.
Go this quick, like the language is going everywhere. Great conversation.
Yeah, it's extra busy because I put like on Facebook that I was on the live stream. So there's a couple of friends of mine that are in there. They're going like having a look, and then I'll later get told what I all did wrong.
Oh, they're judging you right now. They're judging everything. The t-shirt.
Yeah, definitely.
the shirt, the headphones, everything.
They're familiar with the headphones for sure on Discord and stuff like that. It's,
do they use Notion?
No, I don't think so. Like my brother's trying to figure it out because he's been watching my videos. He's like my. I told you about the brother that did the audio in here. Like help me with that. That's Rudy in here, and he watches all my videos nearly religiously and gives me feedback. So if my audio is ever off, I'll know within like an hour or something. He's on the chat going like, that bit was bad. Terrible.
This is why I like live streaming, because like you could just engage with everyone else, whereas when you put a video up and you're looking like in the comments afterwards, it's so like disconnected. But yeah, like what? So I get this. This is going out to everyone else that's watching as well. Anyone that's watching on the replay as well, I'll probably timestamp this. I'm thinking of doing. So at the moment, the streams, it's like one person on. I could have like 6 people on stream. I'm thinking of doing like an open stream. I don't know how long it would be. I'd like to do a 24-hour stream at some point, 24-hour Notion stream at some point, because the Notion community are so global, like so global. Like you got Conrad from Singapore, that's like complete different time zone. Tim's from Australia, who's on next week. He's going to be at like, I think 4:30 in the morning. He's coming on like 4:30 in the morning for him. Yeah.
Some dedication there.
Yeah. But yeah, so would like anyone watching, or your thoughts as well, like have a guest stream where people could just bounce like on and off, talking, like discussing Notion? How do you think that would go work? Do you think it would?
Yeah, I think it would. Definitely make sure up front that you have like enough people so that you always have someone to talk to during the. Definitely should go for 24 hours, because I can happily see myself hop on. Yeah,
like, I'd like to do a 24-hour stream. I don't know whether I could be awake for 24 hours.
that's like something for. But I think that it would be wonderful to have like a larger group of people, because then you get like the roundtable conversation. It becomes a bit trickier though, because now when we're just you and me talking, I don't need to hit the mute button all the time. But as soon as you start hitting like more people, I had that with the conference calls, mute becomes essential, because else like people start talking through each other, or it just becomes like a bit chaotic. But except from that, the whole idea of just being able to nerd out with a couple of people and really get like a couple of opinions, that's just amazing, and it's also fun. I would really hope that Toron gets on there though, because
yeah, like I think Torin was my like first ever viewer for the first stream. I think it was like the first person in there, and then he shared it to the Notion Made Simple Facebook group, and then other people came in. And Torin, I've spoken to Torin so much, like on Facebook and all the other groups and stuff, and he hasn't come on yet, and it hasn't booked time yet. No pressure, but yeah. So I don't even know what's going on with the chat. Where are we? What's going? Is there anything else in your space actually that you want to go through and show?
No, I think that the gist is there. I'll be sure to share the link with you so we can put it in the description so people can have a look at it and mess around with it. As I said, I'm expecting the thing to be butchered. I welcome feedback in it, because this one is like something to share for people. And if something is unclear, then I definitely want to know, because then I can try and make it clear. I'll fix the emoji thing soon, because that's the last bit. But from the space, that's it, because it's not much. I try to keep it simple.
I'm just going to put this on screen before it disappears. For a 24-hour stream, I'd ask someone or multiple people to insert timestamps. Yeah, as you were going. That's a good point. That's a good point. So I don't know how that would work when it comes to live streaming on the YouTube, because timestamps obviously are done in description, and I don't know whether it would work while I'm active. You could probably do what I did previously. I don't know whether you watched the stream, but I had timestamps on stream, like on the screen on Notion going down. So we could probably do something like that, but 24-hour streams, that would get massive. Maybe, well, I guess for a 24-hour stream, we could have a schedule and have maybe scheduled guests to come on, talk for half an hour, whatever, and have time slots. So if people wanted to watch a specific individual, they can book out that time rather than having to sit and wait for however many hours.
Now, if only we talked about some kind of application that had a calendar in it and was easy to share.
I wonder.
Yeah. But yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea. Definitely, if you have like a set of guests or like specific topics that you talk about, so that some people can dial in, and if you have also like, because like filling 24 hours it's a lot of time, but it's definitely I like the challenge idea of that. Just the fact of like going at it for 24 hours just to try. Yeah, what Torin says, get Marie and August to take part, because it's.
Yeah, so it's actually something I put in the Notion Pros group about a month ago now, and there are a couple of people up for it. Some of them were a little bit dubious, but definitely, like, I would try and get as many of the pros involved as possible just to get like their views and stuff. But I'd want to get as much of the community involved as well, because I think I'm just speaking from my experience. I've seen Marie's setup, I've seen August setup. It's like I want to see other people as well. So I'd definitely get them on. Well, if they're happy to come on, of course. But yeah, and I guess if you have anyone in mind that you've seen that potentially I haven't seen, like I'd like to get Red on, probably get John back on, and then August, Marie. I'm trying to think of any other pros. Maybe Termelin could come on. Any other Notion users that you can think of? I mean, if I could get like Ali Abdul and Thomas Frank to come on, because obviously they use Notion as well, it'd be interesting to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because even though they're like big YouTubers and the rest of it, they still use Notion just like everyone else.
Yeah, true. They're like, I mean, we all have to get our work done. I mean, I think that's one of the thing that at some point I started to realize, like all these videos that I watch about on YouTube day in, day out, I mean, they still have to get the work done. You still have to record it, edit it, video, plot it, think it. I'm pretty sure no matter how big someone gets, they have to brainstorm ideas and figure it out. As for your 24 live stream, yeah, definitely try and keep me in the loop about that, because I'm sure you're going to need someone to at least monitor the chat once in a while and just give you feedback lines, because you aren't going to push that, and definitely not once you start hitting that 24-hour bit, because I'm sure most people are going to be...
Yeah, I mean, I still live at home because I'm a student. 24 hours. I'll have to tell everyone, like, right, go downstairs, sleep downstairs, because I'll be talking like all night.
All night, yeah. But that's what I like, the challenge idea now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it would suit some people better than others, but like, there would be so much Notion, and just for the replay purpose, I don't know whether everyone would want to watch 24 hours, but you could go to whatever point. It's almost like I guess it could be like a go-to sort of like workspace. Like if you want to see Marie's workspace, go to this timestamp, August this timestamp, John's this timestamp, mine this timestamp, and all the other people in between. That could be cool. And then just like the group conversation, because people can overlap, people can sit in comments and talk and chat, and I think I like the idea.
Yeah, I can like the global idea is just fun. I'm just going like filling 24 hours is the challenge, but there's so many people that tried it, so that you have to like watch other videos and see what they learned over time. Do some research on it. I thought that Toran mentioned something about that the Linux stream did some open source for 24 hours. So it might be interesting to watch those type of streams, not for the technical content, though. I think that would be interesting. I'm not sure if I can get that link or I can find it in the chat.
I'm just looking at the names that are popping up. UXDV, yeah, I've seen her channel. That was cool. I think I've seen a majority of them. I'm looking for names that I haven't seen. Has set up a Notion videos for graduate. Yes, I've seen that one, Gail. Yep. Actually, yeah. And why not try and create the best generic workspace with a group? Interesting idea. I think that would be very difficult when it comes to generic, because everyone has so many different needs. Obviously, you use Todoist for your tasks. I use Notion for tasks.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that like if you drag that one up a little bit, is like what would be the best workspace to have to get started as an absolute beginner? And then you would need input not only from people like us that use Notion and try to tweak everything that we can, but we definitely want information from people that aren't as technical and saying like, okay, I'm looking at Notion for the first time and I want something to get started and then build on it later. It's like, what's the tool set you would give someone when they get started? Of course, Notion already has like a welcome page and stuff like that, and then points you towards templates. But that already gets like choice paralysis. Like you see so many templates to choose from. Where do you start when you begin with Notion?
Yeah,
that's
definitely something that, like, thinking about it, because we've been using Notion for so long, we forget what it feels like not knowing.
Yeah,
you know I mean, we're sort of like, what questions did I have? Like one of the first videos I made, it was in wide view, and my sister watched the video and she said, I can't get it in wide view, and I was like, oh yeah.
yeah, forgetting that you have to push that button. The white view thing, like I see that question pop up multiple times. I'm brainstorming. Then at some point, it's like, how do you explain people where the white view is that are new to Notion? Because it's one of those things. Like once you know the button is there, it becomes obvious. But until you know that the button is there, it's like, where do you find it? It's like, I mean, I'm not even sure how I found it. Like, I mean, when I initially started Notion, of course, like you look at it and go like, there's a lot of white space on the sides. What can I do about it? And I'm not sure if I found it by clicking, because I obviously am a tinkerer, so I just click buttons and find out if I can find, or if I just Googled it because it's quicker. It's like, how do I get rid of all this white space?
That's one of those things that I've kind of struggled with when it comes to like video creation, because there's so many things in Notion, but you're like, if I do one video on how to find this one button, once they found the button, that's it, done. They don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like I tried to put all of those small things inside of other videos. So like the video will be about whatever, like task management, but then I'll cover this small little thing that people may want to know. And I see sometimes I think Cameron, what's the time? He's probably not watching yet because he's from Australia, but Cameron sometimes will comment, and Cameron knows Notion fairly well, and he'll comment about that small thing. It's like, I didn't know about rearranging the relation order, like the properties in a relation, you can rearrange them. And he's like, oh, I didn't know about that. And that's not what the video was about, but it was a small thing that was in there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise making a video on one button is just,
yeah, I like short and sweet, but one button becomes a bit much. But I do notice, like when I'm editing my video scripts, I also add like lines to it and go like, what tip am I giving here, so that I can see which, if the video provides enough tips when I'm talking about topics. And those small things add up. Like if you watch a video, and then of course the tips itself you can reuse, because people don't watch all the videos. I mean, we hope they do, but by having the same tip come over again. So for example, the one that I showed where you can push Ctrl+A twice and then click on the checkbox to all uncheck them is something that I repeat a few times in different videos to, well, get people going with that one. Know that it's possible to select things. And speaking of the white thing, I think I should really mentally show that button a few times when I'm making videos, because I forget, and a lot of people just don't know. It's like the amount of people that saw that had like this revelation when they saw you could go into widescreen.
Same with hide in the sidebar. Like the comment I got first about showing my tab bar. So I showed my tab bar in a Reddit group, in the Reddit subreddit. And the question wasn't about, the first questions weren't about the tab bar. It was about how to hide the sidebar. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting one. It's not what I was expecting. And then I got the other questions like, how did you make the tab bar? And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. I will have a read through all of the comments that have come through, because I would imagine there's names and ideas and stuff that have gone. I just haven't had the time to read through them all, so I will have a look through. And if you do have any like ideas that pop up with like people you'd want to see, ideas you'd want to go through, or if you've got any ideas for how to potentially structure these streams, people you want on the streams, how to change anything like that, just either put it in the comments and have a read, or send me a message, Twitter, anything like that. Because obviously, like, even though I enjoy the stream, I still want it to be useful for everyone else watching.
Yeah. Did we get any more questions in the forum or none?
No, we didn't have any more questions in the forum. Most of the questions were put in the chat, so that was quite nice. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but no, there was no long questions. There were a couple of things in chat, but we went through those. But yeah, so the form is empty, the chat's empty, so we're sort of just chit-chatting, really. But yeah, is there anything? I'm going to have a quick look on my Notion page. So when would you be doing the 24-hour? When would I be doing it? I have no idea. I would probably do it on StreamYard, just because of ease of getting people in and out. And in that case, I would need to change a couple of settings. But when I would do it, probably not until October, because I'm doing my dissertation and I can't afford to spend 24 hours streaming. Yeah, dissertation comes first, so probably not until October. And to get people involved and working out a time that would work for lots of people, because I mean, looking at all the names that have sort of like flown through, obviously there'd be a bit of backwards and forwards of communication. And again, do I do it on my channel, or do I I don't know whether I could do it on Notion's YouTube. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Notion about that. But yeah, because if it's a Notion stream, do I do it on my channel or do I do it on Notion? I think I would do it on mine, but I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, 'cause if you're doing something 24 hours, that's pretty special. And I think doing it on the Notion setup would get a larger audience because you will hit more people, and definitely beginners. And it also depends a bit on like what it's aimed for, and also a bit what the level is. I would say that on the Notion channel, the requirements would be higher. Like people are expecting more because they look at Notion as like the more laid back attitude that we have in this chat, where it's more a friendly chit chat and we can talk off and talk about different subjects is something that's I would say so much shoot it to a smaller channel, but more like the level that we set up, that you set up in this, the atmosphere that's there, which is also one of the reasons why I love hanging in the chat, because it's just super relaxing and I don't have to pay constant attention because it's not like this barrage of information like when I'm watching one of the YouTube videos. I also noticed that like when I'm chatting, it's much harder to follow the chat. Last week it was super trivial for me to like just follow the chat and follow the conversation because I could focus on the chat and then listen with one ear, and I don't have that luxury right now. It's
you're on like my end now.
yeah, it's like definitely it's interesting.
It's an interesting experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've watched loads of YouTube streams, and I'm involved in both, and I'm good. And as soon as I'm here in front of the camera and I'm talking, I look at the chat and I'm like, what's just been happening in the last 2 minutes? I'm just having a look at my templates to see if there's any templates that I don't think I've done any. No. Okay. Cool. Because I've been so busy with dissertation, I've just been so focused on getting that done. And I'm going to do a video on how I've actually done my whole dissertation using Notion, because I think that's something that would be interesting to watch. I don't know whether like people not students would want to watch it, but it's planning out essentially an 8,000 word essay in Notion, which is definitely I think unique. I haven't seen a video on it, but
no, that's like that's a pretty large document, and it's I'm curious to watch, even though it's no longer my I say like a sphere of interest currently, because like I've been in the workforce for more than a decade now. Damn, it's going fast. So yeah, like I look from like a totally different perspective. It's also interesting always to watch, like, because I think I once read, maybe it was on your channel, that like a large set of the Notion users are students, and of course the demands for a student is totally different than the actual workforce. There's plenty of jokes about that, like when you go like you study and then you get to your first job and they say like, just toss it all out. It's like, what? It takes a while before you start seeing the benefits of having an education, because like you have to learn the basics in workforce, and then at some point you can bring all the extra knowledge that you have and put it to good use. I didn't have that, by the way. I didn't study at all. It's like I'm as close to a school dropout as is possible.
Yeah, I think we're like polar opposites in that sense.
Yeah, this is one of the
like two.
Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to get on the show, because I love that the total opposite. Like you do everything in Notion, and I try to do I do a lot in Notion, but I try to link to as much as external data sources as possible. I have to keep things absolutely separated, and you just combine everything. And then the idea of throwing things away is like, my mind just goes like, what? It's like, I get it, and then at some point I don't, because I'm pretty sure that I still have emails from 2009 or something. Like when did Gmail start? Like I got an invitation because it was like invite only in the beginning. And those mails are still there. I keep everything.
Yeah, like I throw, like the only thing I delete are tasks, like sort of like disposable tasks that I would class them as disposable tasks. But all the information that I would need for the project is saved in the project. So that's why I say like my task database it's big because of all the tasks I store in there, because I have all the tasks like planned out. I think we spoke before stream. I have my videos planned. For those of you that don't know, I have my videos planned out till beginning of October. So all of those tasks are in my system already. So each video has 7 or 8 tasks. that's 3 videos a week. That's what, 9 weeks? What's that? 27. That's 27 tasks a week. just flying. No, what's that? No, 21 tasks a week times by 5. So that's over 100 tasks in my database, just sitting there waiting. And if I don't delete them, that's massive. But all that information is stored in my project. So I know when I did those tasks because I write it down in projects. I've got the script in the project. So all the archivable information is stored in the one project page, and then all the other stuff is just deleted. Otherwise, my task database would be well over like 50,000 right now. It would be massive. I've just seen the chat slow down, so I'm going to see if I can try and catch up what's going on. 8 hours. Roxanne said 8 hours standard. Thought 8 hours was standard. 8 hours was standard. 8 hour stream. My streams are not 8 hours. I must have missed something. What have I missed something? I've seen a couple of YouTubers do 24-hour streams, so it is possible. Yeah. Oh, okay. I assume Roxanne has said somewhere that 8 hours. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you can do 24-hour streams on YouTube. YouTube does not like it on the other end though. Like doing the replay of the 2-hour stream takes around 4 to 5 hours, which is why when you see timestamps, if it's over 2 hours long, it like wraps the timestamp underneath each other, and YouTube gets confused because it hasn't rendered the stream yet. It takes 4 or 5 hours. So the rendering of a 24-hour stream on the back end 1 week later.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be a lot. And then but on the other hand, you want to keep it going, because I was mentally going like, yeah, you could like break it up into like 4 chunks or something, and so like we're switching to the next stream, but then like people are viewing. It's of course nice if it just keeps going. Of course, you need breaks at some point.
If people share the link, it would change.
Yeah,
but that's something I need to start doing. Actually, I like every streamer that I watch on YouTube anyway is like, oh yeah, share the stream out to your, and I'm like, I go through 2 hours. It's at the end. I'm like, oh, I didn't even say like it or share it, because I know for me, I watch a stream, and even though I know as a YouTuber that I need to like the stream, I don't. I just forget. Like it's so bad, because I hear the YouTuber say, oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like subscribed, I've already done it. But when they say, oh, don't forget to like the stream, I'm like, how have I not done that yet? I've been watching for the last 3 hours.
Yeah, this is like a nice tidbit for the YouTube creators out there. The reason why all these people say like and subscribe is not because we want to remind you, but because people forget. It happens. And start paying attention. You'll notice as well that like when the person says it, that's the moment that you click the button.
Yep.
It's like
if there isn't someone that's been watching the stream and has looked at it and gone, oh, I haven't liked it yet, then like I would be surprised, because I see the average viewers and I see the likes at the bottom. So I know people don't like it. I don't care whether you like it or dislike it. You don't react. But it'd be interesting to see at the end of the stream, because I've mentioned this, if there's more likes on this stream because I've said it.
Well, it's going up pretty quickly. Like since we've been talking about it, you went up from 7 to 12.
There we go.
This includes me, by the way, because I didn't click like as well.
You're in the stream. Oh, dear. I'm disappointed. But yeah, exactly that. And like, even though it is a YouTube thing, I've just seen Torin. I'm going to bring that up on stream. Like, the wrong way around, Torin. The wrong way around.
Yeah, I'm not sure who came up with that thing that you had to like start smashing the like buttons,
hitting it and smashing it, and whatever. Yeah. But it's like it's a YouTube thing, and people go, oh, why do they say that? And I'm like, because people don't do it. They just forget.
It works.
Roxanne's just said guilty. Rudy's just said guilty. Gail's just said I forgot. And you three have been here for like almost the whole stream as well. And I do the same thing. Like on a Saturday when I watch Nick Nimmin, I watch his stream for like 3-4 hours. And right at the end of the stream, he says, oh yeah, don't forget to like the stream. I'm like, I've been watching for 4 hours and I haven't liked it yet.
Yeah, but don't feel bad about it, because the fact is, if you watch videos till the end, that's better than the like for the algorithm. So like if you forget, but you still like watch the video till the end, it's all good. But it's a funny thing. I never thought so much about those things until I started making videos. It's ridiculous what you have to learn.
When you start making videos, you start thinking about things that you didn't even know existed in YouTube.
No, no.
Funneling videos for suggested, and the rest of I'm gonna go like on a YouTube thing here, but like funneling videos, like what video do you put in your end screen? Do you pick a video? Do you let YouTube select a video? Do you put a playlist? How many things do you put in the end screen? Do you put cards? When do you put cards in? What video do you add to the card? Do you put a pinned comment? Do you put something in the description? What do you put in the description? How do you phrase? There's so many small things you're like, oh, I didn't even realize this was a thing.
Yeah, that's how it happens. Like, it's part of the level of incompetence, right? Before you get started on anything this technical as this, you think like, how hard can it be? And then you open the box and you look in and go like, oh my God, what did I just do? And then you have to like take a step back and learn. I think photographers have it the hardest on that one, because everybody thinks it's just pointing and shooting a camera, until they actually start diving into it and figure out that this is pretty hard to do, to get light right and everything. Yeah. But it's so many fields. And I also thought like there was a book where they basically collected like 100 jobs of people. So like what people do for a living in like one book, like a summary of all that actual work. Ah man, I don't have the name of it anymore. But I thought it was super interesting, because once you start doing a certain job, you just don't really know what these other people are doing in a company. You know vaguely what they do, but you don't know how they fill the whole day. And that's in the same building. And then there's other jobs out there from which I just really don't know what it entails. And maybe I just want to know a bit so I can sympathize with somebody when they're having a rough day.
Oh, yeah, I was just like, I brought this up, Notion checklist. Without Notion, I would forget so many of those small little things. Like to start with, so with I think every YouTube creator that makes a video about their YouTube thing, well, the majority of them that make a video about their YouTube creation thing, it's like, this is adapted by Thomas Frank, or this is Thomas Frank's system, and it's some sort of mold of it. Mine's not, but that's just me. And he's got the publishing checklist. And it's just funny. You look through that checklist and I'm like, I don't have one long checklist. I have small checklists inside of tasks. So like research, do this thing. When I'm publishing, do this. And I've got like small checklists. But without those checklists in Notion, I would just be stressing over so many of those small things. Yeah. Are you the same?
Checklists are amazingly powerful and awesomely underestimated for many small things. I just finished the checklist manifesto, which is a book that talks about using checklists in all these different fields. Like pilots use checklists, and in the operating room, so like when they're doing surgery, they use checklists. And it's amazing how these things, even for really complex things, actually benefit people. They lower the amount of risks, the amount of deaths, preventable illnesses. And the same thing for flying. I mean, you have to imagine that in like your plane is crashing, and they actually take the time to grab a book, go to the page that says my plane is nosediving downstairs, everybody's screaming, and then start, right, check one. And they have these things, and the lists are like so nicely. And then when I tell people in my profession, for example, like, hey, let's make a checklist, you just see them like, it's like I just said something bad about their mom and we're not playing online games. It's like they just go like, what? I'm a professional. I don't need a checklist. And Notion like really helps me in that regard. Like I don't think that the magic with Notion is putting stuff in. The magic with Notion is that I can find stuff back. Because that was always my main pain point. And the fact that I can reuse things and use that and add quick lists, it has made my life much more organized, and I would compare it to the day that I found getting things done, and I suddenly started realizing that people forget all the time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So I watched a video from Matt Diavella talking about checklists, and then Thomas Frank did a response video to that. I don't know whether you've seen those. And they speak about checklists. They're like 10 minutes each. I think Thomas, it's like 15 minutes, but yeah, anyway. And they're really good videos talking about checklists. And it's just funny how these massive systems, whether that's like building rockets and doing whatever it is, essentially come down to a square with a tick, a square with a line going through it. Yeah, done that one.
Yeah.
Massive systems built on, or in our case, clicking the box on Notion.
Yeah. But it's like the funny thing about humans, right? We're not very good at systems. We're very fuzzy. We forget things all the time. I think it's a pain point sometimes to be productive because you know everything. Like if I ignore someone, I deliberately decided not to do what they asked because it's in a system and I know. I can't go to these persons and really, I do say it, and I say like, oh, I forgot. It's a lie. There's like, here's the cheat code for anybody that knows me that's watching. If I'm saying like I forgot, I'm lying. I just didn't prioritize it. I got a lot of things to do. It's not you, it's me. I made choices. But that's like the other way around as well. Once I got started with writing stuff down, waiting for was the worst one. And I started, that was more than a decade ago that I started actually writing everything down. And I started realizing that 90% of the time I didn't get answers from people. Just none. You just ask them something and they forget. And then you realize that the world is just people forgetting stuff all the time. This is also one of the reasons why I sometimes look at something and like, I don't feel like this. Let's just not do it. And I just delete it. Because people accept that other people forget. So if they find it important, they'll remind me. It's a planning system.
Yep.
But I was really frustrated in the beginning.
Yeah. I think everyone's forget something. You can't avoid forgetting. Are you reading the message? I saw that and I was like, I'll bring it up just in case it disappears.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everyone forgets, and I think working out how to remember, or not how to remember, but somewhere to put it so that you can go and find whatever it is. Like I spoke about mental or psychic bandwidth. I think either last week or the week before. It's like it's spoken about all over the place, but your brain is not for remembering things; it's for creating and the rest of it. And if you're sitting there trying to remember everything that you've got to do, one, it's stressful. For me, I'm like, I need to remember all 5 of these things. It is stressful, and you forget stuff. So write it down. That's why like post-it notes, I think, were invented. It's like, I just write post-it notes and slap it on there, but then your computer suddenly, your screen suddenly is like half the size for all the notes on your laptop. So let's have a look at this question. Funny question. What's the first thing you both started with in Notion first time around? Did you already have a plan? So I think there's 2 questions in there. Do you want to attack this first?
Yeah, I'll take so the first thing, like I found Notion as a tool, and I'm not sure, but it's probably a Thomas Frank video, something like that. Like I was watching YouTube, somebody mentions Notion, I look at that, and it's like, that looks interesting. And if there's tech coming by about Notion note-taking, then I'll have a look. And the first thing that I did wasn't particularly fixing anything on my end, but mostly like messing around with the tool, because that's the first one. I'm like looking at, can I use this? Does this work with my brain? So the first thing that I made was a table and a template. And then the template bit was the moment I'm going like, we're on to something here. Because I can put data in it and I can structure in it. It's like a wiki, but it can also make structure. And that was when the brain started sticking. So then comes what is known as the information collect phase. That means that my watch list is about Notion for the next weeks, because I'm just gathering information. I'm just collecting everything. I mean, it's known that when a woman get pregnant, I mean, that's a biological restraint. When someone gets pregnant, that at some point they start collecting data, and that's the same with me. Like when I get a new tool, I'm just like reading everything, and I can only talk about this one tool for a month or something till people are sick and tired of me talking about it. It's a good thing I got a YouTube channel. I can just talk about it all day there, and then people thank me for it. It's ridiculous.
Come on stream and talk about it.
Yeah, so that's how it starts. Like, and then I'm tweaking the system, so I'm just messing with it. And then comes the point of commitment. And the point of commitment is when I ditch all other things that I have and put it into this system, because I'm going like, okay, this system, if I commit to it, it will give me benefits. And committing to this means taking all data out of the other systems that I have, chucking them in one system so that there's one place to search. And in my case, that's importing Dropbox paper, which is what I had all my notes in before that, which wasn't very organized. It's mostly just loose stacks of notes. And Workflowy, which was where my mind mostly was in. And I love Workflowy because it's outlining, and I'm very fond of outlining, except for the fact that Workflowy didn't allow me to make columns, and it didn't allow me to add images. And mostly the images is super painful. The amount of times in Notion that I just look at something, hit the screen capture button, drag over, and paste it straight into Notion is staggering. So that was the first step. And then I started adding data in it. Mostly work first. The job where I was at, I had to keep track of so many things. So I started adding things like projects to it, people that was connecting to, requirements that were met, and summarizing data. I think meeting notes also very quickly. Even though meeting notes wasn't ideal, because when I started with Notion, the Android app was far from ideal for note-taking at that time. So I think at the beginning...
Improvement.
It could still use
improvement.
So yeah, I think that if we were to gist it down, I didn't have a plan. I was making it up as I went along. And I still have the damage from that one, which I talked about earlier, where I still have I started with separate databases. At some point I figured out this doesn't work. I combine all the databases, and now I'm separating them again, except now I have a plan on how I want them separated. But there is this phase where you're just getting to grips with the tool. And I would mostly suggest that if you get started, is to start with one facet of life, and dive deep in that one. So that if you start adding the rest to it later, you don't spend a lot of time taking it apart, putting it together again. But don't wait too long, because give it a month or something. And then after that, accept that there's going to be mistakes. I mean, I made plenty of it, and I still think it was worth it. Now, I'm super curious about you, Danny. How did you get started? Can you still remember?
Vaguely. So it was over 2 years now. Well over 2 years. I think it's closing on 2.5 years now, I think. But at this time I was just starting my third year undergraduate. So I'd done my first year. I was finishing off my second year. So I'd done the essays and stuff. It was sort of getting into summertime of second year, between second and third year. And I saw an email. It was random. I think it was a product hunt email that came through. And I saw the Notion badge, and I saw there was something else, but something else caught my eye. I can't remember what that thing was. It's disappeared now. Something else caught my eye. I clicked on that, and I was like, okay, this looks kind of cool, because I'd never really paid attention to one of those emails before. And then I clicked on all the other ones and saw Notion. I was like, okay, Notion's kind of cool. And I was playing around with it. I had no intention of using it. At this point, my desk was paperwork everywhere. Floors was covered in paperwork. Digital was not something I used. I used Google Calendar for planning out lessons, and that was it. Everything else, all of my notes from lecture, all of my articles, papers, everything was paper. I'm not even joking. I had between 50 and 70 papers on my desk at any one time, always research and flicking between pages all over. It was a mess, absolute mess. And I started using Notion, literally just to-dos. I had tick boxes, and it was just a massive long list. That's what it looked like for the first 2 months. It was literally just a massive list of tick boxes. That's all it was. And that's all I used it for quite a while, actually. And then databases. Then I started using databases, and then I realized, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I started adding in properties. And for those of you that saw my stream, I think it was a second or third stream in, when I realized you could add properties to databases, I kind of forgot that a page was actually a page, and I used the properties as content. So I had a database with around 120 properties in. Yeah. So it was not pretty. It did not look pretty at all. It was horrible. It was disgusting. I was like, Notion, this is rubbish. I don't like. But And I even debated like not using Notion again. I'm like, this is stupid. This is rubbish. Thinking about it now, I'm like, what? But yeah, so I started using a database for the tasks, and I put all the tasks as properties, which is why I had so many properties. So every property was a task, and it was just like, yeah, it was, the way I set it out, it was so bad. Yeah, so and that's sort of how I started. I had no plan at all. I didn't even know I was going to use the app. And then I started realizing actually having 120 properties in a database is not really smart. Let's do it another way. And then I started doing my tasks in a database, and then I started playing with filters. And tasks was what I used Notion for the majority of my time. And then I started taking notes for essays from articles, and I wasn't using the clipper because I don't know, I just didn't like it. I don't know. I just didn't use the clipper. I just copied it and pasted it into Notion, which essentially is the same kind of thing. But yeah, so I was using that to grab information, and then I got to a point where I was getting loads of information that I needed to store something. So you see, I started with this long list of tasks, is what I needed at the time. Then the list got too big that I needed to only see the tasks I wanted. So I turned it into a database. So the tasks that I didn't need to see were hidden. Then I was getting loads of information, but then it was too big. So I needed to condense it. So I put it in a database, and then I could condense the notes. And that's kind of how it just built. So I realized, okay, I'm starting to have projects. I already know that I'm going to have lots of projects. So I'm going to build a database already. So I had a projects database, a task database, and then I started grabbing some notes and putting notes relating things, and it started growing. Then I realized, okay, I at this sort of time, I've sort of been using the app for about a year. So I literally had a task database, projects database. That was it. And notes were going here and there. Then I came across Para and the second brain type of thing. And then I was like, okay, don't like the idea of these resources thing. Didn't like it. Didn't like the idea of archives. I was like, not a fan. But areas was something I was like, that works with me, because there were so many areas that were going on in my mind. Like obviously at this point, I'm first year master's degree now. So I'm like, okay, I need to find a job. I need to get a resume. I need to do my dissertation. I need to do my essays. I need to do all my research. Then I have the sports that I play, the work that I do, the volunteering hours that I do. Like there's loads of areas. I'm like, how do I organize this stuff? So I built a database to areas. Now we've got 3 databases. And those were related, and that is basically my system. Like right now, it hasn't really changed that much. So my dashboard, right to start with, well, I didn't have a dashboard. It was just one page. Then I had a database on that one page. Then I had 2 databases as separate pages. And then I realized you could do linked databases. Then it was just that. Then it was the dashboard. And it hasn't really changed since, because like looking at my space now, I have my task database, my notes database, and the task is linked at the bottom. My projects database is hidden, and all the other stuff is hidden out of the way. So my space is essentially 3 databases: tasks, projects, and areas. The only other 2 that you could use, I've used because of the amount of information I capture, is notes and ideas. It's one database for clipping information, notes, and all of the other things that I bring in. I'm going to do a video on it because the whole process is massive. There's links and relations and roll-ups, and yeah, it's a big process. But essentially, it's a database for notes, and then my flashcards database for revision. So I have 3 core databases that I use for management of time, tasks, projects, everything like that, which is tasks, projects, and areas. And then I have 1 for capture, which is notes, and then 1 for revision, which is flashcards. And I didn't plan any of that out. It was literally, this is a friction point I've come up with. How do I solve it? And most of the time it was just playing around and tinkering with things. And I'm still like now, like I'm still tinkering with how to work things. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, like the table, what have I called them? Daily reminders, I think I've called them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I added that 2 weeks ago because it was just a friction point, and that's how my space will keep developing. The only time my space really changes or anything like that is when an update comes out, like the self-referencing filters. That changed my space quite a lot.
Oh man, yeah.
I use it almost everywhere now. Same. Yeah, I think I use it literally everywhere. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool, Torin. What is the time? Oh, it's 9:30. That's true. Very, very quickly on that point, what I actually try to do in my space is keep everything as consistent as possible. So even though I have 15 dashboards, they all look pretty much exactly the same. They have notes at the top, whether that's like idea notes and planning notes, it's just notes at the top. Then I have a calendar view of my projects, because the projects are going to be the things that I'm working on in that area. And then I have a calendar view of my tasks. And it's filtered for the area. So I don't have a tags database because I tag everything by my area. So I can just filter the calendars for whatever area it's in. You know what I'll do? I'll share my screen just so you can sort of like see that. Because I know, like, explaining Notion to someone, like explaining your workspace to someone that can't see it, it's like, oh, it would help if I actually added my thing to, there we go. So like, this is what I was talking about when I say tasks. So I've got my task list. So for those of you that haven't seen my dashboard, so for those of you that haven't seen my dashboard, this is my tab bar, very similar to what you've got. But this goes to all of my, well, not all of my areas, because I have a load of areas and these go all over the place. Some of them go outside of this workspace. For example, this one goes to a different workspace. This one goes to my public page. So that's a different page here. So it actually goes elsewhere. But the rest of these are all links to different areas in my space. And then this is what I was talking about, data reminders. I don't have to do these things. They're just things that could do. Like, I've checked my emails today. I'm not going to check them again. So, and then this is my calendar. So I don't use Google Calendar anymore. I use this instead because I don't time block. I don't find time blocking useful. So these are all the events and stuff that's going on. You can see football, chiropractor, and sort of like all the bits and bobs that's going on. You can see these are the two guys that are on the next stream, so I can see what's going on, necessary. And my events are in my task database. So when I'm organizing meetings, if I need to organize a meeting that isn't already like scheduled or planned, then I can go to this view and I can see, oh, this is not fun. I can see all the tasks and events, because events are tasks for me. So I can look and go, okay, this day is really, really busy. Let's not put an event on this day, or let's move these tasks to a different day. And you can sort of see what's going on. It's not the quickest because I'm streaming and trying to load tons of stuff. So yeah, and then so I minimize it to two views. And what I was saying about the tagging by area, I will very quickly, just to give you an understanding of what I mean by area, is you can see this global block as a tab bar is here again. Let's scroll down. These are areas. So this is how I define an area, which is, an area is basically something that has projects involved. So library, I don't read. I have a library for books, but this area just doesn't get touched really, but it's there in case. And all these other areas have essentially the same dashboard. So you can see content marketing, resources, all of these things have the same kind of dashboard. The most fleshed out dashboards are the ones that I use most often, which is YouTube, content marketing, and blogging, which is here. So if I go into this dashboard, I'm going to YouTube because I think this is the one that most people watching on the replay from YouTube would want to see. Have you got the same cover image?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Unsplash YouTube one. I've just realized that I've had that thing up on stream, so I don't know whether that's covered much of the stuff. Yeah, so you can see here's the properties. You can see I've got projects, and I've got 92 more related to this area. So that's how many videos I have in my projects database that's YouTube only. In my projects database, I have all of the other projects that's going on. So there's probably close to like 200 projects, but there's 92 plus however many are here for YouTube. And this YouTube is a tag because it's an area. So the way I can use this is, this is like my notes section. So I've got, this is a projects database, but these don't have dates on. So what I can do, these are video ideas. This is part of the series that I'm going through in my space. I can click and drag this down to my calendar view, and it will add a date to the project.
Oh, yeah. I saw that one with the filters.
Exactly. So I have ideas here. So these are all ideas for anything YouTube related. So some of these might be video ideas. Some of these might just be different things that I've got from notes. That's a whole another conversation with note taking and the rest of it. But essentially anything that I can tag with YouTube comes into here. And I can either drag it into projects and then it becomes a video, or I can leave it there and action it and turn it into a task or a project and do whatever I want with it. This, for those of you that aren't sure, that's literally my tag. If I was to get rid of this, every single project would appear. And if I get rid of this, all of the other projects I have in my projects database that are related to YouTube, i.e. tagged with YouTube, will show up here as well, but I don't want that information. And then in this database, it's actually filtered for content marketing as well. So what that means is when I add something in this database, so say I add a video into projects here, it will tag it with content marketing, which means when I go into my content marketing space, which I'll go in a second, it will show up there as well. So it's like a global tag with my areas. And my task database that's lower is exactly the same thing, where we come down here, YouTube, content marketing, and then is not done because it's a task. So I don't want to see the tasks that are done. Otherwise, all of these will be full as well. And you can see I've planned out all of the stuff for the rest of the month. And if we actually go next month, I think I've planned out next month as well. Give it a second. Yep. Okay. So there you go. So they're the tasks that I've planned out. And then if we go into projects, I've definitely planned out further from projects. Yeah, there you go. So that's the videos planned out till the 2nd of October. And then all I'd need to do is just use the process. I've done a video on my process of creating stuff for YouTube, go through that process and then create all the tasks. So if I go into content marketing, which is in here, you will pretty much see an identical view. These are the projects that are content marketing. The LinkedIn ones are the most recent one, but you've got 144 more. You've still got the notes. Everything is still related. This is the notes section because I'm not planning videos out. I don't need that section, but it's just notes. Then I've got the calendar view of all the projects. This is actually filtered for, blogging as well. So it's filtered for content marketing. So anything with content marketing tag is in here. So these are blogs. So the blogging space is identical to YouTube, except it's blogging. So you can see blogging and content marketing tagged. And then if we come back, oh, there we go. So you've got the YouTube video and the blog in here. So I can see content marketing, everything that's going on. So you can see all the stuff that I'm doing. And then the tasks are exactly the same. You've got the blogging tasks and the YouTube tasks. The YouTube tasks, obviously, if I'm going to see a specific area, I'll go to the area. But if I want to have a big overview of what's going on, I can go into content marketing and see everything that's going on. I haven't got around to making the dashboards for all the other platforms because I'm doing my dissertation at the moment. But what I can basically do is recreate the blogging dashboard or the YouTube dashboard and just have it as LinkedIn dashboard. And then I can tag it with LinkedIn, tag it with content marketing, and then I can see everything broken down into their little sections, their little areas. But if I wanted to see a big overview, so when I'm planning out all of my content, I can come in here. So I know that when I do this YouTube video, for anyone doing marketing or lead gen or anything like that will know that you try and link content together in some way, reuse, repurpose. I assume you do something similar.
Yeah, I link all the things, but that is like a specific issue because I got like a lot of databases like separated, so there's no link, and at the most I just add a link to the page itself. But yeah. I don't relate it as much. Like I was following it along, and it's interesting to see how you like really drag it back to the essentials, like get everything into in a couple of databases and use those excessively, which is which is obvious. Like it's good.
So from a managing perspective, how long is the stream going on for? By the way, I can't go to bed too late today. I don't know. It's funny. When I started doing these streams, I was thinking an hour, that'll be about right, and the streams just seem to like just go on forever. What I'll do is I'll go over this last topic, bring it back to the convo, and then we'll close it up. But yeah, so with
another side note, like, you can always like do the same thing I did last week. So at some point, just sign off and just watch the rest in the morning. because it's
because I will have timestamped it. Well, timestamped it.
Sleep is important.
Yes, it definitely is. So with this, like you say, it's very like bare bones. Everything is. I try and put everything together as much as possible. So this is a video, and what I do is I will blog. So I blog daily, as you can see. Like every day is a blog. Previously, I stopped blogging, which is why you don't see it up here. I stopped blogging because I was heavy on Dissertation, but now I've managed to sort out the system for YouTube. I've got a system that I can just mimic. Like the system works, I'll just replicate it again for the blogging, and it's worked so far. And so this blog is related to this YouTube video. So essentially, I can link the video inside the blog, but the blog's not talking about the video; it's talking about something else. But I can relate it. So I start linking content together. When I start linking content together like that, what I can do, because when you're working on playlists in YouTube, you need to understand what videos are in what playlist, and then what order do you put them through, and that sort of thing. So I've got a playlist. So these are all of the playlists I have on YouTube. And then I've got other, because some of them aren't in playlists, even though they should be. And then I have unlisted videos that I still have saved in my system. So when the process of making a video, I can add it to a playlist, or I add a playlist. Then what I do is I have a to video. So this is related to the same database. So if I come into here, you can see it's related to projects, and this is a two-way, to and from. So I know that this video, all of the links will point to this video. So my end screen, my card, my pinned comment, my link in description, all of those links will go to this video, which means most people are bouncing off this video to go to that video, which tells YouTube suggested videos, sort of manipulating the algorithm kind of. And this video will be in this playlist. Were you going to say something?
No, I'm just like mentally going over it, looking at like I need to add that to my database.
It's like really useful is I don't touch the from. I don't add anything to it. I only add on the 2-bit. But when I have so come on, take your time. So when I have a video, I'm completely guessing, but I'm assuming I've got something going to it. Oh wow, I don't. That's bad. So I should have a video going to this. That's bad by me. So and that's something I need to go over. I feel like I need to find a video now that actually has something going to it. Oh dear, this is poor. This is poor. So this is poor marketing on my end. Let's find this one. See if there's one going to. So essentially, if there's a video that directs itself to, okay.
You can't just click on the to video and then get to like the from. Or...
Yes, yeah.
That would be cheating, or
yeah, it would be cheating. That's really bad. But yeah, so essentially, if something's going to it, so I know this is going to go to. Hold up, that should go to. Have I not linked it? This could be finding an issue with me. Embed, yeah. So that is linked to the video I was on before. Oh, this is Notion's buggy thing, isn't it? Yeah. So that is linked to that, and that should be showing that, but it's not. Because Notion's got a thing that's going on with templates and it's messing around. But yeah, so I would see everything that's going on. I'm actually going to have to do a quick mental check to see how that's functioning. But hopefully you can see how that would work.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick check on playlists. This is going to show all of my YouTube videos. Here we go. Go into properties and show from. There you go. So you can see those videos are linked to some things. There you go. And you can see everything that's sort of going from, and I can see those links that's happening. And all the playlists are in. So you can see I've got some work to do on some of these, because all I did is all of these videos go to this. So you can see this video has essentially this video has no backlinks. So if you're looking from an SEO standpoint on like a website, this video's got no backlinks. This video's got no backlinks. And like all these videos are unlisted, so that doesn't really matter. But I can see some videos will have loads of backlinks. So if I drag this out, I'm sure some videos will have like 4. Yeah, look, that one's got 3 backlinks. that one's got 3 backlinks, and I can see it's unbalanced. So I can look straight at a view and go, okay, I need to add a video to this one or to this one from here. And then I link up my blogs with that, and I will link up my socials. Yeah, so literally all of the videos that I've recently done, nothing came to them. Oh dear, that's poor. That's poor. I'm doing my dissertation. That's my excuse.
Yeah, you can still use that for a while. So
yeah. But that's the process. And whenever I'm making a blog, I can link the blog to the video, and then I can see how many backlinks go to the video. And that's the idea. That's the process. But obviously, it needs to be actually done way better than it currently is. So, what are your thoughts on that very quickly then?
Oh, one of the things like relating the videos and then being able to see how they are linking towards each other is one of those things that I was still mentally keeping in my head or clicking through my YouTube interface for. And then you show me the table and my brain just goes like, why didn't I think of this before? That would save me a lot of time. Yeah, and of course, like as the data structures become larger and larger, but we talked about that before. It's like, performance-wise, I'm just wondering, like my engineer brain goes like, you should hit a limit at some point. I mean, I have people that have a hard time getting this to perform well if they're building the whole thing from scratch. So the database, they have like full control. And Notion, of course, builds like a generic system, and then we build on top of that. So having that perform is tricky, to say the least. So I'm wondering if you'll hit that at some point, but you clear out things, so that helps.
Yeah, I think the projects database is the only one that's really going to test, because like I say, tasks, I delete those as they're done and they're stored in projects. Areas, it doesn't really get big because my areas are literally just dashboards that look like that, which my areas are basically projects and tasks put in there. And then flashcards, like as the flashcards go, they disappear. So I get rid of them. So projects is the only one that's really going to bulk out. At the moment, I have no idea how many projects I've got in there. I've got at least 133 plus whatever else was in that database. And like for me, considering I'm streaming, I have 4 Chrome tabs up. I've got Notion up twice. I've got Slack up. And I'm using Notion. It's functioning fairly well, and I'm using a laptop that could do with some updating. it could do with some new wheels. It's functioning well for me. It's not like Notion's never been the quickest app in the world anyway. No,
that's true.
So yeah, we're closing in on 3 hours. So is there anything you want to say? So.
I'm like also like really mentally starting to check out a bit. Like it's 11 over here because there's an hour time difference. But some closing statements. Yeah, it was interesting. Like we went a bit all over the place, looking at the different setups and systems. I thought the chat was very busy. It was nice to see that there was a lot of conversation going there, and I still think that we should definitely do like. The breeze, like the low key conversation, is what makes the chat. It's like it really keeps like an interesting conversation going. It's also one of the reasons why I'm definitely carving out time to hang around in the chat every week here, because it's like it goes everywhere. It's not just Notion. Of course, like we happen to land on YouTube a couple of times because we both create videos. That's of course a total difference. Last week was Professor, so then you get like more to school sets. And I think that makes it interesting. So like I hope that you get like a lot of different guests in, and then like see the mix that happens once you get to like your Notion geared mind with how other people have to use it in their specific setting. Looking at your system, like you don't use Google Calendar anymore. You just use Notion, and my work brain just goes like, no, because I get like meeting invites and things that I have to accept, and then I would have to like manage and copy over my calendar all the time. So like in my field of work, it just wouldn't work because the integrations that are there are so strong and so often used that they would become a pain. So I'm curious how that will evolve in your end as well once you start hitting those the corporate levels where people are going like, how do you mean? Like, because Google Calendar. But maybe Notion will have something for that, or you can just use an iCal and load that into side load it into something like Google Calendar, so you can accept stuff without having to do a lot of manual labor for it.
Like at the moment with meetings, obviously consulting and stuff, but like last month on the Notion calendar, I had an average of 3 meetings a day on Notion, mainly through like Calendly or Zoom, or some people use Google Meets for some reason. But okay, sorry, my bad.
It's just lazy, because when I shoot in a Google Calendar, then it automatically asks like a Google Meet meeting room. So I'm just going like, just click on that. It works anyhow. So.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So what I'll do typically when I'm organizing a meeting, I have an email conversation anyway, normally, or someone does it through Calendly, and I'll get the notification by email from Calendly saying you've got this, whatever, and I could put it on like I can add it to my Google Calendar. It says like add to Google Calendar. I can click that button, or I can just click into the URL, copy, go to my Notion, which is open anyway, paste it in, and then it's done. Like, yes, it's a little bit longer, and maybe when I have more meetings, I might just use Google Calendar. But at the moment, it's quick enough, and it means that it comes up on my like list right at the beginning of the day.
Yeah,
because it comes up with the event tag. So I can see. I go over this in my dashboard video that's coming out this week or next week. Like, I can see tasks I need to do. Well, I have publishing tasks at the top, tasks I need to do in order of priority, depending on due date. Then all of my events on that day, then my recurring tasks, like right there straight away. So I don't have to look at a calendar, look anywhere else. It's on the calendar at the bottom, but I use the calendar mainly just to see what's coming up in the month, what's going on.
Yeah.
So, I might use Google Calendar. I mean, the best thing, I think I mentioned this last week very briefly, the best thing that would be is if the API somehow, I don't know how, syncs with Google Calendar in the same way a Clipper does.
Yeah.
So, when you clip something on Chrome and it adds it to the database, if you could clip an event from Google Calendar into a Notion database, like that integration, I have no idea how it would work on the API end or anything like that. But essentially, you could clip the event from your Google Cal into Notion, or however the API works. That would be amazing. But who knows what happens in the future?
Yeah, so because there's a few steps that I see and it would work, but I'm just thinking like at some point it won't scale. But I'm mostly curious how that will grow over time. So that's like, I'll keep watching your channel. I'm pretty sure that if you do make a change, there will be a video about it. So I thought that bit was interesting. Like, I see like this old database set combined to each other. And I think that's also one of the key points I pointed out on the Facebook channels as well. It's like when people say like, why are we waiting for the API? I said like, because when you start using it in corporate environment, people want to integrate stuff. And if you can't integrate it, you auto-fail as an application for most corporations. It's not a selling point for most of the help groups, because those are individuals. But once you start selling something like Notion to a corporation and you don't have an API, they just go like, no, it's like, we need a way to hook it up to a Jira or a SAP system or whatever they have that week.
Embeds is the workaround at the moment, but it's not ideal.
No, it's not. Like, I mean, I have the embeds, but even I had to do some code trickery to get my Todoist to properly embed, for example. And I just happen to be able to hack some code and then make it and share it for other people. But most people don't. And that means that it's just not, like, you can't really push it as a solution. But that's also one of the reasons why I reported it at Notion and said, like, this is a bug because you're mangling a URL that you shouldn't be mangling.
Oh, it's the same with the Google Drive embed. I've done a video on it, and it's so annoying because you can't use Google Drive to actually embed the document. You have to use the normal embed. If you use a Google Drive embed, it just gives you a bookmark. Whereas if you use the normal embed and use the public URL link, not the copy link, then it will embed. And it's annoying.
I explained that to someone as well in the Facebook group at some point, and it's like, that's too bad, because it should just give you the option when you do it. It's like, it's too hard for people.
Almost at 3 hours, guys. 20 more. 21 more to go. Yeah, maybe not today.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm already sweating here, and I have work tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get complaints after being gone for a week. It's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I'm on a live stream right now that I decided to join yesterday.
Yeah, like the 24-hour stream is something I want to do, and it sounds like you guys would want to see it. If like I'll probably clip this at some point, but basically, if you have anyone you want to come on stream, if you want to come on stream and share something, if you have something that you want to see on stream, or a specific time that works better, well, I guess not time, but day works better for people or anything like that, let me know. But yeah, so I will try and get that sorted probably sometime in October or November. I don't know whether it'll be on my channel or whether it'll be on Notion's. I might talk to Notion about it. We'll see, but it's definitely going to happen. So yeah, if you have any ideas, thoughts, questions, I will go back through the comments. It's probably miles up now with all those people. But yeah, so for those of you that are still here, Bass's channel is in the description below. And yeah, same time next week. Well, not with Bass next week. I'm sure you'll be in the chat.
Yes. I'll hang around and annoy a few people over there.
Yeah, we've got Tim. We've got Tim coming on next week. I think it's going to be a little bit later. It'll probably be a 7:30 start because it's like 4:30 in the morning for him. So it may be a little bit of a later start, but it's around the same time. So yeah. Thanks everyone for joining and listening in. I've just seen the numbers go up, so some people have literally just joined and we're finishing it up. But yeah, so see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.